Chapter 690. Seeing Fang Xinjian's sudden appearance, everyone present was astonished. That gold-robed mage did not pay any heed to Fang Xinjian's warning. His hand seals continued to move, and the huge golden palm from earlier released young Master Meng, turning into a huge fist that came charging over. Be careful! That's diabolic energy, and its prowess far surpasses that of ordinary divine-level martial wills. Don't take it head-on. This gold-robed mage has used some kind of secret technique to be able to activate diabolic energy to attack. The prowess of this diabolic energy far surpasses that of our martial wills. We can't take it head-on. Dodge quickly. Don't get hit by this diabolic energy. In that instant, Audrey, Xingxing and the others immediately sent out layers of information currents, sending them into Fang Xinjian's consciousness at lightning speed. They wanted to remind Fang Xinjian to dodge that huge palm formed from diabolic energy. However, faced with this incoming huge palm, Fang Xinjian did not dodge at all. He was immune to diabolic energy to begin with. He tapped out with his other hand, and there seemed to be a stream of sword light slashing across in void space. The huge golden palm was split into two, then split again and again. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a series of light spots and dissipated into the air. This bit of diabolic energy of yours is much weaker than the ones I've encountered in the past. Everyone looked at this scene in a daze, as if they had not expected that the diabolic energy, which they were helpless against and which even the divine-level expert Jacob was unwilling to take on head-on, would be so weak before Fang Xinjian. The middle-aged mage looked at this scene with a mixture of astonishment and fury. He said coldly, "Who are you? How dare you stop us gold-robed mages from doing things? Do you know the consequences of making enemies out of us?" "I'm Fang Xinjian," Fang Xinjian said calmly. "I've already warned the Mage Association not to offend me." As he spoke, sword intents flashed wildly, instantly slashing off the middle-aged mage's 4 limbs. However, at the next moment, it was as if time had been reversed. The middle-aged mage's injuries recovered, and his 4 limbs were unscathed as if he had never been injured before. He sneered and said, "It's useless. The Shaman King has already bestowed upon us the blessing of the Time King. Any attacks are useless against us." "Is that so?" Fang Xinjian replied calmly. How could an ability of this level enter the eyes of the current Fang Xinjian? At the next moment, just as the middle-aged mage sensed that something was not right, his head was crushed by Fang Xinjian. After letting out an agonizing cry, he recovered once again and glared furiously at Fang Xinjian. "You lunatic! You're making an enemy out of the Mage Association. The Mage Kings won't let you off." Fang Xinjian smiled coldly and once again crushed the middle-aged mage's head. This cycle repeated for the 7th time. There were a few times when the middle-aged mage wanted to gather diabolic energy to escape. He even wanted to perform Gold Faction black magic to reduce Fang Xinjian's speed. However, it was all to no avail. The huge golden palm slapped out, but Fang Xinjian destroyed it with a single finger. The time deceleration black magic surrounded Fang Xinjian, but it did not affect him in the slightest. The effect of the time acceleration black magic on the mage's hands was still not as fast as Fang Xinjian's light speed attacks from his martial will. The more the battle went on, the more despair the middle-aged mage felt. His attitude and tone also gradually changed. "Fang Xinjian, you'd better remember this. I won't let you off. I'm going to kill you." "Wait, don't attack. Stop." After killing 8 times consecutively, Fang Xinjian finally stopped after hearing the middle-aged mage's pleas for mercy. The middle-aged mage looked at Fang Xinjian in a panic and said, Don't attack anymore. I admit defeat, I admit defeat." "Fang Xinjian, don't you want to know about the Mage Association's information? I can tell you everything." Fang Xinjian stopped his actions, crossed his arms before his chest, looked at the middle-aged mage calmly, and said, So, there's also a limit to your undying bodies? The middle-aged mage gulped and said with slight reluctance, "That's right. There's a limit to the number of times each person can be reborn. The more diabolic energy one has, the more times they can be reborn. Each time they reverse time and rebirth, they'll need to deplete a tremendous amount of diabolic energy." From afar, Audrey and the others looked at this scene in a daze. The gold-robed mage, who had been chasing after them as if they were mice, had been beaten up by Fang Xinjian just like that. However, thinking that Fang Xinjian was a divine-level expert after all and had even single-handedly suppressed the 7 great clans, it was very normal for him to deal with a level 29 mage. Therefore, they felt relieved. It was just that they had not expected that Fang Xinjian would be able to deal with diabolic energy so easily. Fang Xinjian nodded and continued to ask, "Tell me, what on earth is going on?" Under Fang Xinjian's intense gaze, the middle-aged mage felt waves of pressure being transmitted to his body. It was as if every single cell in his body had been pierced by a longsword, and he felt that if he were to make any abnormal movements, he would probably be killed once again. Previously, when he had heard the rumors about Fang Xinjian, such as how he had killed the undying Xia, defeated the blue sacred moonlight, and crippled the first prince, he had thought that the divine-level experts from the Night faction were too weak. Now that he had encountered Fang Xinjian, he finally understood how terrifying the latter was. Fang Xinjian had not used any moves or performed any special abilities. He had only used a simple punch and a finger, yet he had been unable to retaliate at all. Furthermore, the fact that even his diabolic energy had been easily defeated by Fang Xinjian made him even more astonished. Therefore, when he heard Fang Xinjian's question, the middle-aged mage answered honestly, "The Association and the Empire's royal family are going to hold the evil god ritual and are planning to take action first, purging all the influences in the entire country. This is to prevent people from coming out to disrupt the ritual and create unnecessary variables." Purge the entire country? Fang Xinjian's eyes narrowed slightly. Thankfully, he did not sense that any of his core subordinates' lives were in danger. It seemed that they should still be fine. "That's right," the gold-robed mage replied. "We're in charge of suppressing the 7 great clans. As for the other factions and clans, there will be people to take care of them." Fang Xinjian said calmly, "Who are the people you've sent to deal with the 7 great clans this time around?" "Other than me, there are 3 others." The middle-aged mage threw a glance at Audrey and the others. Knowing that there was no way for him to hide the truth, he could only say honestly, 2 of them are level 29 mages who are about the same level as me, while the other one is a divine-level expert. He's a peerless genius from our gold-robed mage faction, Devon." "Devon? How is he compared to Elnaworth?" Elnaworth was the genius from the gold-robed faction who had been killed by Tiandao. The middle-aged mage threw a surprised glance at Fang Xinjian, not knowing how Fang Xinjian knew of Elnaworth's existence. Clearly, the gold-robed faction's understanding of Fang Xinjian was a far cry from that of the gray-robed and black-robed factions. In the battle earlier, they did not even know that Fang Xinjian was immune to black magic and diabolic energy. After being stunned for a moment, the middle-aged mage said, "Lord Devon is about the same level as Lord Elnaworth. Moreover, he has now attained Tier 1 of the divine level and is able to refine diabolic energy for his own use. He has also grasped quite a number of black magic that is at level 10 or above. His battle prowess is so strong that it's comparable to Tier 2 or even 3 divine-level experts from the Path of Night." He then looked at Fang Xinjian and said, "Fang Xinjian, it's true that you're very amazing, but the true horror of black magic isn't something that a layman like you can understand. If you really encounter Lord Devon, you probably won't even be able to last a single breath. If you let me go now, I can help you join the Mage Association and come into contact with the true path of power." Chapter 691. Fang Xinjian did not look at him. Instead, he looked at Audrey and asked, "Is there a problem with what he said?" Audrey and the others shook their heads as they looked at Fang Xinjian agitatedly, sweeping away the dejection they had felt over the past few days. Looking at the middle-aged man whom Fang Xinjian had captured, all of them revealed delighted expressions. Seeing everyone shaking their heads, Fang Xinjian threw a glance at the middle-aged mage. The latter was instantly slashed into pieces by countless streams of sword intents, then regenerated, slashed into pieces again, then regenerated again, and slashed into pieces again. After 3 consecutive times, the middle-aged mage let out an agonizing cry and finally could no longer be regenerated. He died completely. Fang Xinjian's gaze turned toward the Holy Light Clan's base and said calmly, "Let's go back to the Holy Light Clan." Just then, young Master Meng, who had been severely injured earlier, had been regenerated. Hearing Fang Xinjian's words, he immediately advised, "Wait a minute. That gold-robed mage by the name of Devon is probably still in the valley. It's too risky for us to head over there directly." "That's right," Xingxinger also said. "Xinjian, your sword arts are top-notch and your abilities are unrivaled, but that Devon is also very powerful. Moreover, black magic has always been more powerful than our night art. It's too dangerous to head over recklessly like this. It's better to look for a few more helpers and make some preparations before." The few of them wanted to advise Fang Xinjian. After all, they had all witnessed how powerful both Devon and Fang Xinjian were. Although Fang Xinjian's battle prowess in suppressing the 7 great clans single-handedly was extremely powerful, it was still a little lacking when compared to the black magic that Devon had displayed when he had defeated Jacob. Therefore, in their opinion, the safest method was to look for a few helpers. As an expert from the Second Prince's faction, and it was said that Fang Xinjian was on good terms with the Myriad Stars Palace and Prince Philip, it should not be difficult for him to look for 1 or 2 divine-level experts to help him. However, hearing this, Fang Xinjian shook his head. Long-winded. As he spoke, he raised both of his hands, and the group of people were all locked down by his sword intent. Everyone soared up into the sky in that instant, propelled by Fang Xinjian's sword intents, flying toward where the Holy Light Clan was located. Right now, in the Holy Light Clan, countless people were bustling about on the ruins of the manor. They kept on digging through the ruins, moving all sorts of treasures, jewels, gemstones, heavenly and earthly treasures, and all sorts of medicinal herbs for cultivation. Carriages after carriages of wealth belonging to the Holy Light Clan were being moved out. The wealth that the Holy Light Clan had accumulated over several centuries could be said to be comparable to that of a country. Right now it was being transported out by the many carts, forming many long lines. It was as if ants were moving houses. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the manor ruins, over 100 warriors from the 7 great clans were impaled on wooden sticks. The wooden sticks pierced through their tailbones all the way to their torsos, protruding out of their mouth. They were then impaled into the ground like human skewers. These warriors had all resisted the golden-robed mages and were tortured to death. Looking at the corpses on the wooden stakes, the group of warriors who were digging the ruins and transporting the wealth all revealed expressions of fear and despair. Young Master Long, who had been in high spirits, was flipping the crushed rocks on the ground to search for the Holy Light Clan's treasures, while throwing a careful glance toward the sky. In the sky above the manor, a short man with a height of about 1.5 meters stood in void space. He wore a golden robe, and there would occasionally be streams of golden electricity swimming around in his eyes. Behind him stood 2 other middle-aged golden-robed mages. One of them had black skin while the other had fair skin. Although they were both taller than this short man, neither of them dared to stand taller than him. Young Master Long clenched his fist. It was that short man by the name of Devon who had descended on the mountains a few days ago, defeated Jacob with a single move, suppressed the 7 great clans, and killed several hundred warriors who had resisted. His ferocious prowess was overwhelming, and no one dared to go up against him. Young Master Lei patted young Master Long on the shoulder and said through information currents, "Don't look anymore. Be careful of him getting angry again." Young Master Long said, feeling indignant, "To think that our 7 great clans, who have dominated the empire for over 100 years, would end up in such a state." Young Master Lei shook his head. "Black magic is too powerful. In this world, probably only the Holy Sea of Truth will be able to go up against the Mage Association." A figure appeared in young Master Long's eyes. If Fang Shijian was still around. "Don't be silly," young Master Lei said with a bitter smile. "If he were a match for us, he would have made his move long ago." Moreover, Audrey said that he went to strive for the 9-tiered heavens but disappeared for an entire month. He's probably lost in the 9-tiered heavens and died. Moreover, even if he were to come over, what right does he have to fight against Devon? What right does he have to wage war against the Mage Association? Even His Majesty wouldn't dare to wage war against the Mage Association. Thinking of this, the two of them let out a heavy sigh. Just then, a piercing sound rang out, and young Master Yi, who was also one of the 4 gentlemen, flew toward Devon in the sky. Seeing young Master Yi in the sky, both young Master Long and young Master Lei revealed a hint of fury on their faces. However, they forcefully held it in, as if afraid of being discovered by Devon in the sky. Young Master Yi leaped to Devon's side and said respectfully, "Sir, over 80% of the Holy Light Clan's treasures have been excavated, and 50% of them have been transported back to Sun City. That Jacob has also been escorted to Sun City, and is being detained by Lord Shursho." Sun City was the city closest to this place in the northern ice region. Clearly, they had dug out most of the Holy Light Clan's wealth and transported it out over the past few days. Even the Holy Light Clan's head, who was at Tier 1 of the Divine level, had been detained. With Senior Shursho looking after Jacob, there won't be any problems. A Divine level expert like him can be considered a rare material. Devon nodded calmly and continued to ask, "Where's Fang Shijian? Haven't you found him yet?" Young Master Yi said cautiously, "That Fang Shijian hasn't been found yet. He's probably either failed in his attempt to attain the 9-tiered heavens, or he's afraid of Sir's strength and has escaped." Devon shook his head. "Before I came to the Empire, I've heard that Fang Shijian is the strongest expert amongst the younger generation in the Empire. I had wanted to spar with him. It's a pity. It seems that the Path of Knights is still a little lacking compared to black magic." Another pale-faced gold-robed mage said, "Sir, the higher-ups are urging us to return quickly. During this period of time, many unfamiliar faces have appeared in the palace, but all of them possess powerful abilities. Lord Mage King wants us to head over to investigate." "The royal family?" Devon said calmly. "Other than Alexander and the Abyss Lord, there aren't many other characters in the royal family. If it wasn't for Alexander's outstanding talent, what right would the Krieg royal family have to work together with us?" Young Master Yi maintained his bowing posture, not daring to show the slightest change in the respectful expression on his face. Just then, over 10 light shadows cut across the sky, flying toward the manor's ruins. Devon frowned slightly. "Who are they?" Young Master Yi looked toward the group of people flying over, a little speechless. When he saw Fang Shijian in the lead, he was stunned for a moment and said, "It's Fang Shijian." Devon revealed an amused expression as he looked at Fang Shijian, who was in the lead, and said, "Oh? That guy is Fang Shijian?" Behind Fang Shijian, Audrey and Xingxing's eyes were filled with anxiety. When they saw Devon's gaze sweeping toward them, their bodies trembled, and hints of terror appeared in their eyes. During this period of time, they had witnessed Devon's brutality. If it wasn't because the head of the Holy Light Clan, Jacob, had risked his life to stop them, they wouldn't have been able to escape. However, they had not expected that Fang Shijian would ignore their objections and bring them back. At the thought of this, their gazes toward Fang Shijian were filled with a hint of resentment. Even Audrey sighed slightly, not wishing to go against the Mage Association. Chapter 692. When young Master Long and young Master Lay saw this scene, they were both astonished. However, at the thought of Devon's strange black magic and the Mage Association behind him, their hearts sank. This is bad. Why has Fang Shijian barged in alone? Didn't he get some help from the second prince? How can he be a match for Devon alone? Moreover, he has the Mage Association behind him. If he were to act rashly like this, he'll end up going to war with the Mage Association. That's not right. Fang Shijian shouldn't be so rash. He should be here to save them and to discuss terms, right? He shouldn't be going to war with the Mage Association directly. At the thought of this, anxiety and nervousness appeared on the duo's faces. They only hoped that Fang Shijian was only here to save them and not to go to war with Devon. Putting aside everyone's terror and uneasiness, Fang Shijian looked at Devon and said, "Shorty, you're Devon?" Hearing Fang Shijian's words, the countenances of the two gold-robed mages changed drastically. Young Master Ye's countenance turned ghastly pale. It was true that Devon was very short. Even after attaining Tier 1 of the divine level, as a gold-robed mage, he did not have the regenerative powers of knights and was still very short. After all, for mages to advance to the divine level, they needed to refine diabolic energy for their own use. This would allow them to directly increase their willpower, and it had nothing to do with the 5 tiers of perfection in their physical bodies. Moreover, gold-robed mages did not have black magic like the gray-robed mages who could casually modify their physical bodies. However, it was also because of his short stature that Devon hated it when others called him Shorty. Everyone who called him that would be brutally killed by him. Hearing how Fang Shijian addressed him, streams of blood capillaries instantly filled Devon's eyes. "Kid, you're very daring." As Devon spoke, he slapped out with his palm, and golden light gathered. In that instant, it turned into a golden beam that grabbed out fiercely toward Fang Shijian. This was the diabolic energy that he had stored in his body after refining diabolic energy. It was equivalent to having turned into his martial will, so Fang Shijian was not immune to it. It was because mages could directly refine diabolic energy into the power of their martial will and perform all sorts of black magic that they were able to stand above many knights. However, faced with Devon's palm attack across space, Fang Shijian did not even look at it. He slashed out with his sword, and violent sword intense slashed the huge golden palm into two. "Shorty, didn't the Black Mage King tell you not to offend me?" Hearing Fang Shijian's words, the countenances of everyone present changed drastically. They had not expected that Fang Shijian would be so daring as to provoke the Black Mage King. Devon was enraged, and golden light burst forth. "Arrogant! Ignorant!" However, Fang Shijian's sword intent swept out, once again slashing his opponent's martial will into two. Then with a flash, Fang Shijian darted through spatial gaps and stomped down toward Devon's head. Devon's countenance did not change, and he instantly performed the level 9 black magic, gracefulness of time. The flow of time seemed to have slowed down, and everything within a range of 100 meters became like a snail. The only exception was Fang Shijian, who was not affected at all and continued to stomp down. Gracefulness of time is ineffective? Devon's countenance changed, and golden light burst out from his body. His golden martial will turned into a light screen, blocking before him. With a bang, Fang Shijian's foot stomped onto the golden light screen. However, how powerful was his physical body now? It was the heaven-connecting sword physique, formed by the fusion of his martial will and physical body. This stomp was equivalent to an explosive power of 600 points of physical strength and 1,500 points of martial will. With a boom, the golden light screen instantly shattered, and Fang Shijian's foot stomped down on Devon's head. The latter's head exploded instantly, turning into a headless corpse that plunged down toward the ground. However, when the other two gold-robed mages and young Master Yi saw this scene, none of them panicked at all. It was because they knew that this death could not even be considered as a physical injury to Devon. When young Master Long and young Master Lei saw this scene, their hearts skipped a beat, and their scalps turned numb. They had a feeling that a great calamity was about to befall them. This is bad. Fang Xinjian is really going to wage war against the Mage Association. Although his sword arts are godly and his cultivation is powerful, he's still a little lacking against a divine-level mage like Devon. Moreover, Devon has the entire gold-robed mages and the entire Mage Association behind him. At the thought of this, the two of them were terrified. They were afraid that they would be implicated by Devon or the Mage Association in the future. If that were to happen, it would not be as easy as digging through the ruins. By the time Devon's corpse fell into midair, it had once again returned to its original state. Golden Martial Will gushed out wildly, lifting him up once again. Devon's eyes were burning with fury as he looked at Fang Xinjian. Simultaneously, he formed seals with his hands and activated the level 11 black magic, Future Vision. Kid, you dare to make an enemy out of our Mage Association? I'll let you know what true terror is. From now onward, he would be able to predict the attacks that would be launched 1 second in advance. However, Fang Xinjian did not care. He took another step out and stomped down. I've warned the Black Mage King not to offend me. Since your gold-robed faction has come to offend me, I'll destroy your Mage Association. Layers of killing intent flashed on the faces of the three mages present. They looked at Fang Xinjian as if they were looking at a lunatic, a dead person. They had not expected that he would dare to provoke the Mage Association like this. The countenances of the people from the other 7 great clans turned pale as they looked worriedly at Fang Xinjian, who was in the sky. Devon had long since known Fang Xinjian's attack route through his future vision. He pushed his palm upward, fending off Fang Xinjian's attack with an intense golden light. All of his martial will was channeled into this palm defense. The piercing golden light seemed as if it was going to pierce through void space. The surrounding space distorted into layers and layers, extending out to an area of several hundred meters. By turning diabolic energy into their own power, it was true that mages' pure strength far surpassed that of knights. The power of this palm alone was comparable to that of a Tier 3 divine-level expert. Concurrently, he tapped out with his other hand, activating the level 12 black magic shuttle to the past. His body, which had been empty earlier, once again produced a stream of golden light. It was because the shuttle to the past black magic allowed one to borrow powers from the past. At this moment, it was as if Devon had instantly unleashed 2 of his powers. One was used for defense, while the other was used for offense. However, at the next moment, the golden light shattered, and the palm that was pushing upward was stomped into dust by Fang Xinjian. Fang Xinjian then continued to stomp down on Devon's face mercilessly. Devon's head was once again stomped down, and he plunged onto the ground, sending dust splattering all over the place. Roar! At the next moment, golden light burst out, and a total of 9 Devons charged out with furious bellows. Each of them brought along 100% of their powers. It was the level 12 black magic, chaotic army. It could summon 8 of them from different timelines and use them to attack simultaneously. However, they had just charged out when they were once again stomped down by Fang Xinjian. Their heads smashed into the ground, and under the immense pressure of the terrifying force, their nose bridge caved in, their cheeks shattered, and their brains scattered. Their heads were stomped down once again. You! Golden Prince cut across void space, and 2 sharp blades that represented the profoundness of time descended from the sky. Wherever they passed by, time seemed to be accelerated, and everything seemed to fall before these 2 sharp blades. It was a level 13 black magic blade of time. It was a super black magic that could directly harvest the other party's lifespan. However, The amount of lifespan it harvested from the other party would also deplete the user's lifespan. This was Devon going all out. However, faced with Devon's desperate attack, Fang Xinjian merely put out his finger and flicked the blade of time away. Then he stomped down on Devon's head once again, causing it to explode. Everyone watched with their eyes and mouths agape as Devon climbed up time and time again while bellowing furiously. However, he was stomped back into the ground by Fang Xinjian time and time again, turning into meat paste. After stomping down on Devon's chest once again, Fang Xinjian's gaze swept toward Audrey and said, "You guys gather everyone together first. Also, collect all of the Holy Light Clan's resources while you're at it. I still need some time here." Fang Xinjian looked at Devon, who had recovered. Then he stomped down once again, causing a myriad of golden light to explode. Fang Xinjian stomped down on Devon's neck, and his head flew out. Shaking his head, Fang Xinjian continued to say, "After all, even if they're ants, it'll still take some time to step on them one by one." Chapter 693. Hearing Fang Xinjian's words, the remaining 2 gold-robed mages were so infuriated that they were trembling. One of the mages with tan skin bellowed furiously, "Stop it, Fang Xinjian. Do you want to die? The Gold Mage King won't let you off." Not bothering to listen to the other party's words, Fang Xinjian turned and smashed the other party's body with a palm strike. Then he stomped down on Devon's head. Fang Xinjian then exerted a suction force with a single palm, and the mage's body, which had just recovered, flew up to him. Fang Xinjian grabbed the mage's neck and lifted him up in midair like a little chick. After stomping down on Devon, who was just about to stand up, Fang Xinjian looked at the mage and said coldly, "I've thought of a new way to deal with you guys." "What are you going to?" Fang Xinjian did not wait for the mage to finish his words. He swung his hand, and the mage instantly broke through sound barriers, creating a series of air currents as he was sent flying out into the sky. The mage let out an agonizing cry, and amidst the intense friction with the air, he instantly turned into ashes under the atmospheric pressure that was several 100,000 times stronger than normal. He continued to recover and turn into ashes. In the blink of an eye, he broke through the atmospheric layer and outer space. He watched as the world slowly became smaller and rounder before his eyes until he entered outer space. Without stepping into the divine level, the mage was unable to see the 9-tiered heavens. He charged into vacuum space at a speed that was 100 times that of supersonic speed, dashing out toward outer space. However, in vacuum space, he was not killed instantly. With an explosive bellow, he exuded layers of stacking golden light. He wanted to reduce his speed and fly back. However, in the universe there were almost no physical substances. The temperature plunged rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, it reached -200 degrees Celsius, 240 degrees Celsius, 270 degrees Celsius. The golden light had only burst out for a few seconds when it dissipated once again. The dark-skinned magus had already turned into an ice sculpture, and he continued to fly into space like a meteor. On the snowy mountain, everyone looked at the mage who had instantly turned into a small dot in the sky and then disappeared without a trace. They were speechless. Another mage shouted, "What did you do to him?" "Sent him on a cosmic journey." Fang Xinjian glanced at the remaining sorcerer and raised a finger. In an instant, the sorcerer screamed and flew out of the universe like a rocket, disappearing into the horizon. As he spoke, Fang Xinjian once again stomped down on Devon, who had recovered. Devon's strength was getting weaker and weaker, and he had not launched another attack after 3 consecutive recoveries. Fang Xinjian lowered his head and looked at Devon. He could toss ordinary gold-robed mages into outer space and kill them. However, the divine-level mages under his feet would probably not die even if they were tossed into outer space. Wait! With a boom, Fang Xinjian once again stomped down on his chest, causing it to explode. Fang Xinjian. With a bang, He kicked Devon's head and sent it flying. Surrender! Boom! I surrender! Boom! Fang Xinjian, boom! I'll F***CKU, boom! Mother! Everyone in the surroundings watched with their eyes and mouths agape as Fang Xinjian stomped on Devon to death. They watched as Devon was completely defenseless and put up a weak resistance, like a girl in primary school who was being squeezed by a bear. He's too powerful. How is that possible? To think that Devon can't even fend off a single attack? To think that a divine-level gold-robed mage, an expert who can control time, is being beaten up? Audrey, Xingxing the 4 great young masters, and the experts from the other 7 great clans looked at this scene in disbelief. They watched as Devon was stomped to death time and time again. Only they, who had personally experienced Devon's strength, understood how terrifying this scene was. Just as Fang Xinjian was about to stomp down once again, a seemingly material golden light extended out from Devon's chest. If the middle-aged gold-robed mage's golden light was said to be as thin as a veil and Devon's golden light was as thick as a golden cloth, then the golden light that had suddenly appeared was as material as a piece of gold. This also seemed to represent the strength of diabolic energy. The golden light very quickly formed a completely golden human body, just like a golden statue. It was an elderly man who wore long robes and had long sleeves that drooped down. He had a tall crown and a long beard. The moment the elderly man appeared, an intense pressure engulfed the entire place. The space around him kept on distorting and collapsing. It was as if one could faintly see the shadows of the past and the future flashing by. When everyone saw this elderly man, they only had one feeling. It was that this elderly man seemed to be able to control time and draw out their lifespans from their bodies. Could this person be, Master? Save me! As Devon shouted, everyone finally found out the identity of this golden figure amidst their astonishment. Devon's master was the leader of the gold-robed mages and one of the top-notch experts in the Mage Association, the Gold Mage King. It was as if the life and death of the universe, the circulation of all living things in the world, and the endless river of time seemed to be flowing in his eyes at every moment. Looking at the Gold Mage King, everyone present was astonished. To think that the Gold Mage King has personally descended, Xingxing said in horror. I wonder if Fang Xinjian is a match for the Gold Mage King. If it's this clone, Xinjian should still be able to fend it off, young Master Meng said with a sigh. Young Master Meng sighed and said, but this also means that we'll be enemies with the Mage Association from now on. Young Master Long frowned and said, that might not be the case. With Xinjian's current abilities, even if he isn't a match for the Gold Mage King's true body, he should still be qualified to negotiate terms. As long as he lets Devon off, he might even be able to turn enemies into friends. Everyone looked at the Gold Mage King. Not a single one of them had the courage to fight against the Gold Mage King. In their opinion, Fang Xinjian letting Devon off this time around and making peace with the Gold Mage King seemed to be the best outcome. At the sight of Fang Xinjian, the Gold Mage King shouted, Fang Xinjian, stop first. You want me to stop with just a clone? Cram. Simultaneously, 4 astonishing rainbows soared into the sky. The celestial eradication sword formation was activated, and endless powers were augmented onto Fang Xinjian's body. Earlier on, regardless of whether he was dealing with the middle-aged mage or Devon, Fang Xinjian had only relied on his own powers and had not used the celestial eradication sword formation. However, now that the Gold Mage King's clone had descended, he would not continue to be careless and not use the sword formation. As Fang Xinjian stomped down, bringing along the endless sword cheese from the celestial eradication sword formation, the golden light instantly shattered. The Gold Mage King's clone was crushed by Fang Xinjian's stomp. Fang Xinjian then stomped down on Devon's body. With the final stomp, Devon's head was crushed, and Devon's entire body turned into a pool of mush. This time around, he did not come back to life. The diabolic energy in his body had been completely depleted. Everyone watched with their eyes and mouths agape as the Gold Mage King's clone was crushed by a single stomp right after it appeared. Devon was truly killed as well. Their minds went blank, and they were unable to say anything. Chapter 694. No one could have expected or understood why Fang Xinjian had been able to win. Gold-robed mages were able to control time and reduce the flow of time in all material objects. Just a level 9 black magic, gracefulness of time, was sufficient for these gold-robed mages to go up against most Tier 1 divine level experts. Moreover, the Gold Mage King's clone had descended personally. However, to think that even the Gold Mage King's clone had been destroyed by a single kick from Fang Xinjian. How strong on earth had Fang Xinjian become? Everyone present was in a state of great astonishment as they looked at Fang Xinjian, unable to say a single word. In the sky, young Master Yi dropped to the ground with a thud. He knelt down and crawled toward Fang Xinjian like a bug. "Xinjian, I was forced to do this. If I hadn't listened to these gold-robed mages, they would have killed me. Moreover, I was their subordinate and took the opportunity to save many people from the 7 great clans." Young Master Yi knelt down before Fang Xinjian. As the Gold Mage King's clone was destroyed with a single kick, there was no longer anyone present who doubted Fang Xinjian's abilities. Audrey mumbled, "Xinjian might really have the ability to go up against Mage King level experts." Xingxing gaze was filled with fervor as she looked at Fang Xinjian. "This is a legend. This is a myth. I thought that although Fang Xinjian is unrivaled, he would only be able to dominate amongst knights. To think that he can go up against mages like this." Young Master Lei's eyes were filled with astonishment. To think that he can defeat the Gold Mage King so easily. It seems that the world is really going to change. Looking at young Master Yi, who was kneeling down and begging for mercy, Fang Xinjian threw a glance, and young Master Yi was engulfed by endless sword light. His physical body turned into dust, and his martial will was also wiped out completely. He exploded into light powder that filled up the sky. He was completely dead. Fang Xinjian would definitely not tolerate people who surrendered. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines when they saw young Lord Yi, who had been killed in one move. Fang Xinjian looked at young Master Meng and said, "You stay here and prepare the Holy Light Clan's things. Then head to the Sun City to look for me." "All right." Young Master Meng looked at Fang Xinjian cautiously and asked, "Sir, are you going to?" "Just call me Xinjian." Fang Xinjian looked toward the south of the snowy mountains and said, "I'll go rescue Jacob." Since the head of the Holy Light Clan, Jacob, had already surrendered to him, Fang Xinjian would naturally not leave him in the lurch. Moreover, half of the Holy Light Clan's assets had been sent to Sun City, and there were also people from the gold-robed mages in Sun City. They had even swept through the entire northern ice region previously. Fang Xinjian could not let these people off the hook. "Do any of you know the Sun City?" Fang Xinjian's gaze swept across the crowd as he asked calmly. "I know him." Audrey stepped forward. This #1 beauty in the northern ice region, the young miss of the Pop clan, an influential clan in the northern ice region, said, "I grew up in Sun City and am very familiar with it." Fang Xinjian nodded, raised his palm slightly, and flew toward the sky together with Audrey. "Lead the way." In that instant, the two of them turned into 2 streams of light and flew toward Sun City. With Fang Xinjian's current speed, it would be a piece of cake for him to cross the entire land. Even though he was carrying Audrey, his speed was still very fast. After pausing a few times to get his bearings, under Audrey's guidance, the two of them arrived in the sky above Sun City within a few minutes. Looking at the brightly lit city under his feet, Fang Xinjian's eyes narrowed slightly. 4 long swords behind him pierced through spatial gaps, sweeping out toward the borders of the entire city. Since the Gold Mage King had already discovered his existence, then with the speed and abilities of a divine-level expert, It was very likely that Sun City had made preparations as well. If the other party possessed a movement akin to light speed and was a Tier 2 divine level expert, then even Fang Xinjian would not be able to stop them easily. Therefore, the moment he arrived, he did not try to gain the upper hand by making a show of strength. Instead, he started to set up a sword formation in secret. He wanted to encompass the entire Sun City within the Celestial Eradication Sword Formation. As long as he set up the Celestial Eradication Sword Formation, he would have the confidence to go up against even Tier 5 divine level existences. While he was setting up the sword formation, he also planned to scout out some information. Simultaneously, he looked at Audrey and asked, "Does your clan have any influence here? Let's go over and take a look first." Audrey nodded and led Fang Xinjian toward a manor in the north of the city. It was the Pop clan's house in Sun City. One of his uncles stayed here and managed the Pop clan's business here. This was also the largest manor in Sun City, and it showed how wealthy the Pop clan was. Right now, the entire Sun City was under martial law. The local government was almost paralyzed, and all the commoners were hiding in their own homes, not daring to come out. Fang Xinjian and Audrey darted through the spatial gaps like two ghosts, passing through the corridors and halls. They saw countless aristocrats walking to and fro, and people of repute in the northern ice region could be seen walking to and fro with a cup of wine in their hand. Clearly, they were holding a banquet. "What's going on?" Audrey said in surprise. "The Stan clan, the Yuhun clan, the Lushan clan. Why are all the aristocrats in the northern ice region here?" Fang Xinjian frowned slightly and said, "The gold-robed mages have swept through the entire northern ice region. By the looks of it, their main forces are probably in Sun City. Go and ask around and see if you can find traces of Jacob or that gold-robed mage." Right now, the Celestial Eradication Sword Formation had yet to encompass the entire Sun City, so Fang Xinjian did not wish for his will to sweep out and alert the enemy. After all, from the second tier of the divine level onward, one's attacks and movements would be close to light speed. Even Fang Xinjian would find it hard to stop them. Therefore, Audrey appeared in a flash after turning a corner. Fang Xinjian stood in the spatial gaps, following behind Audrey. "Yo, isn't this Audrey?" "Haha, Audrey, I heard that you were still in the Great Western region earlier on. When did you come back?" "You've come back this time around to meet Lord Shursho, right?" As the top beauty in the northern ice region and the young miss of the Pop clan, Audrey attracted the gazes of countless aristocrats at the banquet almost the moment she appeared. With just a few words, she managed to find out about the current situation. Half a month ago, the gold-robed mages had arrived in the northern ice region, and the one leading them was a mage called Shursho. This person was a Tier 3 divine level expert, and was a legendary character from the older generation who was of the same generation as the Gold Mage King. Over several decades, he had accumulated an endless amount of resources and had also studied countless black magic. This time around, the world's metamorphosis had allowed him to strive for Tier 3 of the divine level. It could be said that he had accumulated a lot of experience and strength. He was the one who led the team to sweep through the northern ice region, suppressing the entire northern ice region and making it tremble in fear. Even the local government did not dare to show any signs of resistance, let alone some factions and aristocrats. Chapter 695. Almost the entire northern ice region was under the control of the gold-robed mages. Audrey started to anxiously find out about the situation of her Pop clan, as well as the Henry clan, which had been suppressed by Fang Xinjian previously. Previously, when the 8-directional Crimson Dragon had descended upon the northern ice region, the undying Xia had wanted to snatch Audrey away. However, Fang Xinjian had killed Xia's clone on the spot and even subdued the head of the Henry clan. His prowess had shaken the northern ice region. However, the arrival of the gold-robed mages had clearly changed the situation. Just as Audrey was anxiously trying to find out about the current situation of her clan, the head of the Pop clan, Audrey's father, Andolph, took a few steps forward and dashed over like a bolt of lightning. He rushed up to Audrey and said, "Audrey, thank goodness you're fine." "Father." Audrey heaved a sigh of relief. However, her gaze suddenly turned toward another person. It was the head of the Henry clan, who had set up a formation and used the corpses of the 4 ancestors to go up against Fang Xinjian. However, he had been easily suppressed. He had even used the information regarding the formation to hand it over to Fang Xinjian in exchange for his life. Right now, the head of the Henry clan appeared to be arrogant and high-spirited. There was no sign of the depression he had shown in the past. Seeing Audrey's gaze, he smiled and said, "Audrey, it's good that you're fine. When we found out that you went to the 7 great clans as a guest, your father and I were worried that something had happened to you." "Why, didn't you meet Devon and the others?" Audrey's gaze flickered. She did not reply to the head of the Henry clan. Instead, she looked at her father and communicated with him through information currents. "Father, what's going on? Didn't the gold-robed mages come to the northern ice region? Are you guys all right?" Audrey's father smiled bitterly and replied through information currents, "The entire northern ice region is now under the rule of the gold-robed mages. Even our Pop clan has to act according to their wishes. However, by the looks of things, although they're domineering, they haven't reached an unacceptable level. Based on their actions during this period of time, they're planning to develop in the northern ice region for the long term." When the head of the Henry clan saw their actions, he understood that the 2 of them were communicating with each other. He waved his hand and interrupted their communication, saying, "All right, Audrey. I know that you don't understand the current situation too well, but I can't do anything about it. Right now, Lord Shursho was holding down the fort in the northern ice region. The entire northern ice region, from the government, clans, factions, academies to the gangs, trade associations and financial groups, had all submitted to the mages. As for the matters of the aristocratic families, I will be in charge of them for the time being. Audrey, you can look for me if you need anything." Audrey frowned slightly. Although she had expected this, she still could not help but ask, "Father, have you and the head of the Henry clan joined the gold-robed mages?" Audrey's father frowned slightly and did not reply. The head of the Henry clan said, "The Mage Association has a legacy of 10 million years and is a colossal existence that has dominated the world. Its background is unimaginably deep, and in history, only the Holy Sea of Truth can compete with it. The legacies, powers, and resources that the Mage Association holds are far from what the Empire can compare to. Right now, the Empire's royal family has joined forces with the Mage Association. Based on the latest news that I've received, a few major factions in the Mage Association will be holding down the fort in the other 7 regions, with the exception of the Central region. From then on, their legacies will be passed down, and they will be completely integrated with the Empire." "What? So that's how it is? Then wouldn't the Empire be split into 8? So that's how it is. Then does that mean that our northern ice region will be under the gold-robed mages' management in the future?" The arrival of the head of the Henry clan had already attracted the attention of many people in the surroundings. When these aristocrats, cultivators, and clan heads heard what Henry said, they immediately revealed great astonishment. Their wavering hearts all became firm. "What?" Audrey listened to this scene in astonishment, as if she had not expected that the Mage Association would make such a great move. Seeing the astonished expressions of the people in the surroundings, the corners of the Henry clan's head's lips curled up slightly, revealing a hint of pride. He had received this news from Shursho 1 day ago. The reason he was saying this was to show off his status in the eyes of the gold-robed mages. A short and plump wealthy merchant said worriedly, "Will the Krieg royal family be willing to do this? They won't break out into a fight, right?" "That's right. What if a war breaks out?" Another clan head from a wealthy clan said. However, the head of the Henry clan waved his hand and said, "Don't worry, they won't break out into a fight." Putting aside the fact that Lord Shershow is already a Tier 3 Divine level mage, the Lord Gold Mage King has already attained a breakthrough to Tier 5 of the Divine level and is strong enough to dominate the world. Moreover, the Green Mage King, the Red Mage King, and the Purple Mage King are all extremely powerful and are not much weaker than the Gold Mage King. Moreover, the Mage Association's top person, the Black Mage King, will be watching over the world. Even if the Holy Sea of Truth were to come, we'll still be able to fight them. Hearing the Henry clan's head mention the many Mage Kings in the Mage Association, everyone present was on tenterhooks. However, at the thought of the power they contained, it was as if they had just taken a tranquilizer. It was true that the world was getting increasingly chaotic. It would be best if they could have a big tree like the Gold Mage King to support them. Henry smiled as he looked at everyone's reactions. He knew that he had gradually planted the seeds of the Mage Association's prestige. In the future, as the pressure from the mage's prestige increased, he would be able to command these great clans as he pleased. Just then, a white-haired elderly man walked out while holding onto a walking stick. Seeing the elderly man's appearance, everyone present was astonished once again. "Lord Governor? Even the Governor is here?" It seems that even the government has acknowledged the Mage Association's status. That white-haired elderly man holding onto a walking stick was the person who held the highest authority in the Northern Ice region in name, the Northern Ice region's governor. He stood next to Henry and said calmly, "The Gold Mage King's reputation and abilities are both awe-inspiring. His Majesty has also issued a decree that the Gold Mage faction will forever rule over the Northern Ice region. Everyone here is a reputable character in the Northern Ice region. Please cooperate well." Hearing the Northern Ice region's governor's words, everyone present was left speechless. To think that even King Alexander had acknowledged the status of the gold-robed mages. The short and plump wealthy merchant said, "Sigh, it seems that the Mage Association's plans to take over the world is inevitable." "That's right. The Northern Ice region will probably belong to the gold-robed mages from now on." The person who spoke was the leader of a faction. His eyes were filled with resignation. With the way things were, even the governor and the head of the Henry clan had completely surrendered to the gold-robed mages. What else could the small factions like them do? However, Audrey's father noticed Audrey's indignant expression and said to her through information currents, "Audrey, don't be rash. The gold-robed mages ruling over the Northern Ice region is already something that will happen naturally. It's an irresistible trend, and no one will be able to stop it." Audrey shook her head. Her mind was still filled with the domineering scene of Fong Shi-John stomping on Devon and crushing the Gold Mage King's clone. Chapter 696. Audrey said to her father through information currents, "Father, you're wrong. Back then, we submitted to Fong Shi-John and were on the second prince's side." "Sigh, Audrey, forget about Fong Shi-John," Audrey's father advised. "No matter how strong Fong Shi-John is, how can he be a match for the Mage Association? I heard that he was in the 7 great clans previously. Did you meet him? Right now, Lord Devon has gone to deal with the 7 great clans. Fong Shi-John has probably been defeated by him." Audrey looked at her father and shook her head in disappointment. However, Audrey's father thought that Audrey had not thought things through and continued to persuade her. He then said, "Audrey, it's good that you've come today. Later on, Lord Shershow's son, Sher, will be coming as well. You should get to know him well." "Father, you..." Audrey looked at her father in disbelief. Her father smiled bitterly and helplessly. "Audrey, I'm doing this for your own good. Sher is Lord Shershow's only descendant and has received Shershow's unparalleled favor. He is also in his prime, suave, and extremely talented. Not only is he a great genius in the gold-robed faction, but he has also attained a breakthrough to Tier 1 of the divine level. There will only be benefits for you to be with him. There will be no disadvantages. Audrey's gaze was filled with disappointment and coldness as she looked at her father. Although she knew that he was doing this for the good of her clan, his behavior still disappointed her. At this moment, there was a commotion in the distance, and an exceptionally handsome young man in a golden robe walked in. A golden-robed man, who was also a magus, followed closely behind him with a respectful look on his face. Seeing the young man's appearance, Henry's eyes lit up, and he immediately walked up. "Lord Sure, you're finally here. Everyone has been waiting for you." Sure smiled, appearing calm and warm. However, if one were to take a closer look, they would be able to see a hint of arrogance in the depths of his eyes. This was the habit of all mages. Other than the people from the Mage Association and the Holy See of Truth, the other influences in the world did not pay much attention to them. The nobles, aristocratic families, officials, and wealthy merchants in front of him were all influential figures, but in Sure's eyes, they were nothing more than insects that he could easily crush to death. Therefore, Sure smiled reservedly at the head of the Henry clan and did not say anything else. On the contrary, the aristocrats in the surroundings crowded over, trying to get into Sure's good book. It was as if they all hoped that their influences would be able to gain more benefits in the northern ice region in the future. Sure dealt with them one by one. Most of the time, he would just nod his head in a lofty manner. It was as if he was too stingy to even glance at these experts, wealthy merchants, and officials. However, the people in the surroundings did not seem to care. After all, they were unable to come into contact with the Gold Mage King, and Sure was also high and mighty like a heavenly god. They could only think of ways to curry favor with Sure. So what if he was incomparably arrogant? In their eyes, Sure's status was even more noble than the Empire's royal family. Even if it's the Empire's royal family and the legacy of the ancient path of hell, how can they compare to the Mage Association? Lord Sure is an expert who is second only to the Gold Mage King in the gold-robed faction. Sure is almost like a character who is like a prince. If we can get into his good books, our clan will be able to do whatever we want in the northern ice region. Countless people approached Sure with such thoughts in their minds, causing this young gold-robed mage to become the center of attention in the entire banquet. The head of the Henry clan was observing the situation. When he saw a hint of impatience flashing in Sure's eyes, he immediately waved his hand to dismiss everyone. Sure nodded. "I heard from my father that amongst the many great clans in the northern ice region, the Henry clan has the most ancient legacy and a strong background. In the future, our gold-robed faction will still need the support of the Henry clan's head when it comes to governing the northern ice region." "That's for sure," the head of the Henry clan said respectfully. Patriarch Henry said with a respectful expression, "Sirs, all of you are top-notch experts in the world. To be able to be of service to all of you is my Henry clan's good fortune." Just then, the head of the Henry clan, who had been observing Sure attentively, suddenly noticed that when Sure's gaze swept past Audrey, there was finally a hint of astonishment in his indifferent gaze. The head of the Henry clan smiled. "That's the #1 beauty in our northern ice region, the Pop clan's Audrey." "Oh!" A hint of interest flashed in Sure's eyes, and for the first time since his appearance, he spoke in a questioning tone. The head of the Henry clan was a sly old fox. When he heard Sure's tone, he immediately understood what he meant and said, "Haha, Audrey has always admired Sir's talent. The two of you are a perfect match and can have a good chat. I'll call them over." With that, he sent information currents to Audrey and her father, asking Audrey to come over quickly. However, Audrey was not moved at all. Audrey's father persuaded, "Audrey, at least go over and have a chat. It's fine if it's just a chat, right? If you give Sure too much face, it'll probably be hard for our Pop clan to survive in the northern ice region." Audrey let out a sigh and said, "Father, you're wrong. The northern ice region wasn't the world of the gold-robed mages in the past, and it probably won't be the world of the gold-robed mages in the future either." When the Henry clan saw that Audrey did not move after a long time, his countenance sank. He thought that Audrey did not know how to appreciate favors just because of her beauty. He called out, "Audrey, come over. Lord Sure wishes to meet you." He shouted this out, wanting to force Audrey to come over. However, Audrey merely threw him an indifferent glance, lowered her eyelids and said, "Henry Clan's head, have you forgotten that you were defeated by Xinjiang a few months ago and swore to be loyal to the second prince? How long has it been since then, and you've already changed sides?" Hearing Audrey's words, the countenance of the Henry clan's head turned grim. He had been badly beaten up by Fang Xinjiang, and even the remains of his 4 ancestors had been destroyed. This matter had always been a humiliation to him. Hearing Audrey say this, how could he not be infuriated? He suppressed his anger and said, "Miss Audrey, as the saying goes, a good man chooses a good tree to perch on. In the past, Fang Xinjiang used violence to force and threaten our Henry clan to lower our heads. Right now, Lord Sure has come to the northern ice region. The gold-robed mages have dominated the world for several thousand years, and Lord Gold Mage King is a top-notch expert, a Tier 5 divine-level existence. What's wrong with me submitting to the Lord's demeanor?" Audrey's head remained lowered as she sighed and said, "The clan head is so fickle. Aren't you afraid that Xinjiang will kill you when he returns?" "Ha ha ha ha." The Henry clan's head laughed out loud. "Fang Xinjiang is just a young brat. In the past, he relied on his sword arts from who knows where to not show any respect to the royal family and seniors, acting tyrannically and wreaking havoc everywhere. However, right now, Lord Sure is in the Sun City. His gold faction black magic is unrivaled in the world, and he can control time and lifespan. How can a mere Fang Xinjiang be a match for him? Moreover, it's said that Fang Xinjiang is hiding in the Holy Light clan. However, Lord Devon has already led a team into the depths of the Snowy Mountains, and the 7 great clans have all been suppressed. However, even when the Holy Light clan's head, Jacob, was suppressed, Fang Xinjiang still did not appear. Right now, over half of the Holy Light clan's wealth has been sent to the Sun City, but Fang Xinjiang still hasn't appeared. Chapter 697. The head of the Henry clan let out a cold laugh. Fang Xinjiang probably won't dare to appear in this lifetime. This was the first time everyone present had heard of this news. The influence of the 7 great clans was deeply rooted, covering all aspects of the empire. They were hidden in the dark and controlled great influences. Most people did not know about the existence of the 7 great clans. However, when some of the elderly people present and some of the higher-ups heard about the 7 great clans, their gazes changed. A plump, wealthy merchant asked puzzledly, "What are the 7 great clans? Why haven't I heard of them before? Why is Fang Xinjiang hiding there?" Next to the wealthy merchant, the Northern Ice Region's governor said solemnly, "The 7 great clans are the 7 great clans that were left behind when the empire was founded." As he recounted the background of the 7 great clans, some of the experts present who did not know about it broke out in cold sweat. Other than the Krieg royal family, there were still 7 great clans among the 8 divine-level experts who had founded the empire. The 7 great clans had several centuries of legacies, produced many geniuses, and expanded their influence across the entire empire. As the Northern Ice Region's governor recounted the story, a magnificent picture seemed to appear before everyone's eyes. And now, such a terrifying 7 great clans had been suppressed by the gold-robed mages? On the other side, another bald old man said slowly, "It's rumored that among the 7 great clans, there are 6 clan heads who have exchanged manuals and comprehended remarkable abilities together, cultivating to the divine level. There are a total of 6 divine-level experts holding down the fort. May I ask Lord Sure if this is true?" Looking at the old man who had asked the question, everyone present mumbled to themselves. It's the regional chief? He's a person with real authority who's second only to the governor. But by the looks of it, he's already submitted to the gold-robed mages. Sigh, it's the trend of the times, the trend of the times. Hearing the bald old man's words, Sure nodded and said, I heard from Martial Uncle that there are indeed 6 Tier 1 divine level experts among them. Martial Uncle even helped them refine a divine weapon. However, since Martial Brother Devon has suppressed the 7 great clans, these 6 divine level experts have probably surrendered as well. Sure's martial uncle was naturally the Gold Mage King, who was of the same generation as Sure. However, it was clear that Sure did not understand the real situation. It was also possible that Devon had not passed on all the information to Sure, or that Sure had not told Sure about it. However, after hearing Sure's story, everyone present was astonished once again. To think that even 6 divine-level experts from the 7 great clans had been defeated, and it was merely a Tier 1 divine-level gold-robed mage who had taken action? At this moment, everyone's eyes were filled with deep fear and dread. All their previous thoughts were swallowed into their stomach. The head of the Henry clan broke into a satisfied smile. He knew that the gold-robed mage's authority had gradually taken root in everyone's hearts. Therefore, he looked at Audrey once again and said, Audrey, come over. I know that you're grateful to Fang Xinjian for saving you from Xia. But this person's wild nature is hard to tame, and he's stubborn. It's really hard to use him. Why don't you? The head of the Henry clan guided Audrey with the tone of an elder who had experienced the same thing. It was as if he was saying that he was doing all this for her own good. However, when he was halfway through his words, his pupils suddenly widened, and he stared behind Audrey. It was as if all the hair on his body had stood up. Is that so? Under the Henry clan's astonished gazes, Fang Xinjian walked out slowly from void space. The celestial eradication sword formation encompassed the entire Sun City. The next step was to let Sure out. Looking at Fang Xinjian, who had suddenly appeared, and the Henry clan's head, who was suddenly stunned, Sure frowned and said, Henry clan's head, who is he? Fang Xinjian. The head of the Henry clan was stunned for a moment before he immediately smiled coldly. You still dare to come to Sun City? Oh? You're Fang Xinjian? To think that Senior Devon didn't manage to find you? But to think that you still dare to come to Sun City. You're quite bold. Sure threw a slight glance toward Fang Xinjian, nodded and said, It's true that you have some talent. You specialize in sword arts, right? I'll give you a chance. As my guard, with me protecting you, that Emperor Alexander won't dare to make things difficult for you. Fang Xinjian did not reply and merely looked toward the head of the Henry clan first. His gaze swept out like sword light, and the latter's entire body shattered, completely slashed into dust. You're a despicable person who deserves death. With an agonizing cry, the Henry clan's head's body was completely crushed by the infiltrating void sword intense. The martial will of the Henry clan's head floated out and slowly reassembled in midair. Fang Xinjian, how dare you make a move? For a moment everyone was astonished. No one had expected that Fang Xinjian would dare to make a move in Sun City. Countless thoughts flashed through everyone's minds at lightning speed. What a joke. Sure and Sure are both here. Isn't he afraid of death? Lunatic, he's really a lunatic. This guy is really like how the rumors say, killing people at the slightest disagreement. But he's finished this time around. Right now there's a gold-robed mage guarding this place. He's just courting death. Under everyone's astonished gazes, killing intent surged throughout Sure's body. He glared at Fang Xinjian and shouted, Be *starred. How dare you kill people before me? It's useless even if you kneel down and admit your mistake now. Fang Xinjian threw him a cold glance. Slap yourself. As he said that, Sure swung his hand across the air. Instinctively, he performed black magic consecutively. Golden light burst forth, and the gracefulness of time was activated. The area within a range of 100 meters slowed down, but it was ineffective. The golden martial will blocked before him, but it was still ineffective. The golden light shattered, and the palm force smashed into his face across space. With a bang, under everyone's astonished gazes, Sure was sent flying with a slap. He spun 720 degrees, smashed through over 10 small buildings, and then fell into the ruins. However, at the next moment, golden light burst forth, and he dashed out from the ruins. He glared at Fang Xinjian, his eyes filled with hatred and apprehension. However, he did not dare to make a move directly. Fang Xinjian's earlier means of disregarding black magic had left him with a lingering fear. He could only stare at Fang Xinjian and say, "Fang Xinjian, are you going to make an enemy out of our mage association?" Do the people from the mage association only know how to say this? Fang Xinjian said coldly, "Then kneel down and say it." With that, he pressed down with his hand and activated the celestial eradication sword formation. Layers and layers of infiltrating void sword cheese darted out from void space, pressing down toward Sure's body. With a bang, Sure dropped to his knees, and the killing intent in his eyes seemed to have condensed into a material form. Everyone looked at this scene in a daze, as if they were completely stunned by Fang Xinjian's series of actions. "How dare you!" The gold-robed mage, who had been following behind Sure, let out a furious bellow as well. Golden light flashed on his body, turning into a big hand that grabbed out toward Fang Xinjian. Impudent! Fang Xinjian did not even look and slashed down with his sword. The big golden hand shattered, and the gold-robed mage was sent flying out, dropping to his knees together with Sure. "You can kneel together with him as well. Fang Xinjian." When had Sure ever suffered such humiliation before? He was so furious that he was trembling. He glared at Fang Xinjian like a wild beast that was on the verge of death. "If you say another word of crap, I'll kill you," Fang Xinjian said coldly. Sure was so stunned that his face turned red that he did not say another word. However, at the next moment, accompanied by a sigh, a golden silhouette descended from the sky and appeared next to Sure. Sure shouted excitedly, "Father!" However, at the next moment, the other party had already slapped his face, causing Sure to spit out fresh blood. The Henry clan's head was stunned, and everyone present was in a daze. Chapter 698. Sure was the second in command among the gold-robed mages. He had suppressed the entire northern ice region single-handedly and was a Tier 3 divine-level expert. At the very least, at this point in time, in less than half a year after the world's metamorphosis, a Tier 3 divine-level expert would definitely be considered a top-notch expert in the world. Moreover, he was also a gold-robed mage. Therefore, when Sure had appeared, Sure had been very excited, looking forward to his father taking revenge for him. Hope also surged in the Henry clan's head's heart, hoping that Sure would be able to defeat Fang Xinjian and reconstruct his physical body. Everyone present was on tenterhooks, not knowing what this second-in-command among the gold-robed mages would do. Will he fight it out with Fang Xinjian? Tier 3 of the divine level and a gold-robed mage at that. I wonder if Fang Xinjian will be a match for him. Sure is too powerful. His black magic can distort time. Probably only the Emperor in the entire empire will be able to defeat him. Many thoughts flashed in everyone's minds. The Pop clan's head, Audrey's father, looked at Audrey with great hatred and said disappointedly through information currents, "Audrey, look at what you've done. You've pushed our clan to the opposite side of the gold-robed mages. If the Pop clan were to fall in the future, it'll all be your fault." Audrey did not say anything. She only shook her head with disappointment in her eyes. She was increasingly disappointed with her clan and her father. However, amidst everyone's astonished gazes, Sure Shou appeared next to Sure Shur and then slapped him on the face. Sure Shur was stunned. He looked at Sure Shou in disbelief, as if he could not understand why Sure Shou had done so much. Sure Shou paid no heed to Sure Shur's stunned expression. Instead, he turned to look at Fang Xinjian and said, "Mr. Fang, it's my fault for not teaching my son well. Please excuse me." When everyone heard Sure Shou's words, they were all dumbfounded. To think that the gold-robed mages, the second in command among the gold-robed mages, Sure Shou, who was a Tier 3 divine level expert, had submitted to Fang Xinjian. The Henry clan's head's face was filled with disbelief, as if he could not believe everything that was happening before his eyes. Audrey's father was also in a daze, unable to understand what was happening. What's going on? Why did Sure Shou admit defeat? How could this be? Could it be that Fang Xinjian? Could it be that his strength is far beyond what we know? Sure Shur also found it hard to accept the result in front of him. He stood up abruptly, looked at Sure Shou, and said, "Father, what are you doing?" He provoked the Sorcerer Association in public. "Don't tell me you want to." Before he could finish speaking, he was once again sent flying by Sure Shou's palm, rolling tens of meters away. At the same time, a furious will rang out in his mind. It was Sure Shou's voice. "Shut up if you don't want to die. Fang Xinjian is no longer someone you can provoke. You'd better behave yourself." Sure Shur stared at Sure Shou in a daze. He could even see a hint of deep disappointment in Sure Shou's eyes. He knew that his performance had disappointed Sure Shou. But why? Sure Shur gritted his teeth, still unable to accept this outcome. Sure Shou sighed. Thinking of the information the Gold Mage King had given him earlier, a hint of astonishment flashed in his gaze as he looked at Fang Xinjian. A few minutes ago, Sure Shou, who was cultivating black magic on his own, had received a message from the Gold Mage King. "Sure Shou, Fang Xinjian will probably arrive at Sun City soon. Don't get into a conflict with him." "Why? Although that guy has some sword arts, he's not a mage and is just an ordinary knight. He probably won't even be able to deal with Devon and Sure Shur. He has already killed Devon earlier. I rushed over with the power of the Time Primordial Spirit, but I was also shattered by him with a single move." The Time Primordial Spirit was the gold-robed mage's unique black magic. It borrowed the power of diabolic energy to reconstruct one's martial will. Not only was it extremely sturdy, but it could also solidify black magic, allowing them to perform black magic without the need to form seals or recite incantations. "How is that possible? He killed your avatar?" "That's right. Moreover, he's immune to black magic and ordinary diabolic energy. Only the power we have after refining diabolic energy into our own martial will be effective against him." Hearing this, Sure Shou was even more astonished. Having cultivated black magic for over 100 years, he found it hard to accept that there was an existence in this world that was immune to black magic. This matter is also a top secret in the association. Only a few related personnel and Mage King level experts know about it. You must keep this a secret for now and not tell anyone else. Otherwise, the association's foundation will be shaken. "I understand." Sure Shou accepted this information with great difficulty and continued, "Then are we going to retreat?" The Gold Mage King said, "There's no need. It's true that Fang Xinjian is a unique existence. He's probably already attained a breakthrough to Tier 3 of the divine level. However, if it's not because Old Black, the king, and the others are preparing for the evil god summoning ritual, we might be able to launch a surprise attack and kill him. Right now, the evil god summoning ritual is of utmost importance. How many benefits we can get from this ritual will affect the gold-robed faction's future achievements. Therefore, we mustn't make an enemy out of Fang Xinjian and cause unnecessary trouble. Moreover, I can sense from the river of time that Fang Xinjian will be of great help to the evil god summoning ritual. Therefore, remember, even if he doesn't want to cooperate, don't make an enemy out of him. If we can get him to help us and cooperate with us, that would be for the best. As for dealing with him, we'll talk about it after the ritual is completed. I understand. The news brought by the Gold Mage King caused Shi Shou to be astonished one after another. Firstly, to think that Fang Xinjian had reached Tier 3 of the divine level and was immune to black magic. Did this mean that even Shi Shou might not be a match for him? The more terrifying thing was that this person was related to the evil god summoning ritual. However, Shi Shou had not expected that after this slight delay, the people on his side had offended Fang Xinjian again. At the gathering, Shi Shou had already recovered from his memories. He looked at Fang Xinjian and said, "Mr. Fang, it's true that we weren't too clear about your relationship with the Northern Ice region previously. I've always been very impressed with your sword arts. Even my senior martial brother has always had great praises for you. However, His Majesty has handed the Northern Ice region to us, the gold-robed faction, to protect it. If Mr. is willing, you can join us and govern the Northern Ice region together with us." Hearing Shi Shou's words of showing weakness and trying to win Fang Xinjian over, everyone present was completely stunned. Especially when he said that the Gold Mage King had great praises for Fang Xinjian's sword arts, they were completely stunned. What was the Gold Mage King? He was an expert who could dominate over the world and be ranked in the top 20 or even top 10 amongst all the divine-level experts in the world. He was a top-notch character who could go up against the Holy Sea of Truth. For even someone like him to admire Fang Xinjian's sword arts. Did it not mean that Fang Xinjian's sword arts were already top-notch in the world? Chapter 699. Shi looked at Shi Shou and Fang Xinjian, unable to accept this. He could not understand why his father would do something like this. Was Fang Xinjian really that terrifying? The countenance of the Henry clan's head also changed. Now that things had come to this, he could no longer be bothered about why Fang Xinjian would have such abilities. He found it hard to imagine what would happen to him and the Henry clan if Fang Xinjian were to join the gold-robed mages and govern the Northern Ice region together. However, it seemed like there was no longer any room for him to speak. The countenance of the Pop clan's head, Audrey's father, also turned pale, and he looked at Fang Xinjian in a daze. At the thought of how he had pushed such a great character away, his face was filled with regret. Audrey's father looked at Audrey and asked through information currents, "Audrey, what on earth happened? Why does the gold-robed mages hold Fang Xinjian in such high regard?" Audrey also looked at Shi Shou, a little surprised and doubtful. She replied hesitantly, "I don't know, but earlier on, Xinjian killed that divine-level mage by the name of Devon and then killed one of the Gold Mage King's clones." Hearing this, Audrey's father was even more astonished. If Audrey had told him about this earlier, he would not have believed her and would have doubted whether it was true. However, with Shi Shou's actions right before his eyes, how could he possibly not believe her? However, under everyone's gaze, Fang Xinjian raised an index finger and shook it a little, saying, "Not enough." Shi Shou frowned slightly and said, "What other requests does Mr. Fang have? Firstly, spit out all the things you've gathered from the 7 great clans. Release Jacob as well. Secondly, scram out of the Northern Ice region and don't create trouble in the Empire. Then I can treat it as if nothing has happened." Hearing this, Shi, who was standing behind Shi Shou, could not hold it in any longer. He pointed at Fang Xinjian and said, "****, do you know who you're asking for?" "I." Before he finished speaking, a sword light flashed in the void, and a third of his neck was cut off. However, when the third of his neck was cut off, it was blocked by another condensed golden light. Shi Shou's face was filled with intense fury, but he still managed to suppress it. He looked at Fang Xinjian and said coldly, Fang Xinjian, don't go overboard. We can return the items from the 7 great clans to you. However, the northern ice region will be the base of our gold-robed faction in the future. You're neither an official nor a clan or faction here. What right do you have to ask us to leave? Shi clutched his neck as he looked at Fang Xinjian in shock and anger, as if he couldn't believe that Fang Xinjian would make a move just like that. Fang Xinjian calmly glanced at Shi and said, I said, if you say another word of nonsense, I'll kill you. As he spoke, he pointed a finger at Shi. Stop, Fang Xinjian. Shi was enraged, and as golden light burst out, he wanted to help Shi fend off the sword light. However, just as he was about to move, the celestial eradication sword formation exploded. Endless infiltrating void sword intense encompassed his body, causing him to be unable to move at all. Violent golden martial will attacked wildly, creating countless spatial ripples. However, it was unable to break through the control of the celestial eradication sword formation. How is this possible? What kind of power is this? Shi let out a furious bellow, and his golden martial will turned into a huge wheel. The huge golden wheel was formed from countless small wheels, and the countless small wheels were formed from even smaller wheels. There seemed to be an endless amount of time flowing within the endless wheels, and all the powers of the past, present, and future seemed to be contained within them. This was Shi's unique technique, the Doomsday Wheel. It condensed endless martial will and connected with the profoundness of time in black magic. It was a secret technique that could accelerate the collapse of all physical substances. It was not considered black magic but pure martial art. It was also the only ultimate move that Shi reckoned could deal with Fang Xinjian. The huge wheel collided against the sword cheese, and the celestial eradication sword formation seemed to have the feeling of collapsing. Looking at the huge wheel condensed from golden martial will, Fang Xinjian's brows twitched, as if he was a little astonished by this huge wheel's power. He raised his hand and clenched it. Endless infiltrating void sword cheese shot out from all directions, wrapping around Shi and the huge wheel like a huge cocoon. Shi unleashed his powers wildly, but he was still unable to break through the power of the celestial eradication sword formation. No matter how many sword cheese he accelerated and collapsed, there would be even more sword cheese gushing up, suppressing him. Therefore, he could only watch as Fang Xinjian tapped out with a finger. Shi's body broke down completely, dissipating into countless light particles with the wind. However, the black magic, the Time King's blessing, was activated, and Shi recovered very quickly. However, he was once again killed by Fang Xinjian with a single tap. Shi was killed consecutively for over 30 times. In the beginning, he was bellowing furiously, followed by nervousness and fury, and eventually, he kept on begging for mercy. However, he was unable to stop Fang Xinjian from killing him completely. Seeing that his son had died before him, Shi did not continue to struggle. Instead, he sat up cross-legged and looked at Fang Xinjian coldly. He was like a wild beast, hiding all of his fury and killing intent to the bottom of his heart. To think that even I'm not a match for him at all. Senior Martial Brother has underestimated Fang Xinjian's power. It's very likely that this person's true power is not much weaker than Senior Martial Brother's. Thinking of this, Shi's heart turned even colder. Now that things have come to this, I can only give up on the northern ice region for now. We'll talk about everything after the ritual is over. Everyone watched this silently. They watched as Shi charged left and right before giving up in the end. They watched as Shi was killed time and time again, until he turned into nothingness and died completely. Everyone's hearts were filled with terror. Even though the Henry clan's head only had his martial will floating in midair, he still felt as if he was shivering. When he saw that Shi had also given up on resisting, a hint of viciousness flashed on his face. Suddenly, with a swoosh, he turned into a stream of light and flew out. The transmission speed of martial will was at light speed. Even Fang Xinjian was unable to react in time for him to escape in such an instant. However, after flying out 10 kilometers, he collided into an invisible barrier. Countless infiltrating void sword qis engulfed him, and his martial will was repeatedly shattered, dying out completely. The celestial eradication sword formation had encompassed the entire Sun City. This was the reason why Fang Xinjian had dared to appear. Under the encompassing of the celestial eradication sword formation, no one would be able to escape from him. Fang Xinjian's actions had also cut off Shi Shou's thoughts of escaping. Releasing the infiltrating void sword qis and letting go of Shi Shou, Fang Xinjian said calmly, "How is it? Where are the things and people?" Shi Shou let out a sigh. Fang Xinjian's sword arts had far surpassed his imagination, and the Gold Mage King's attention had been drawn away by the evil god ritual. Therefore, he could only hold it in for now. Everything is in Sun City. We'll leave the northern ice region within a day. However, Fang Xinjian shook his head. I don't have the time to wait a day for you. With a sweep of his gaze, a stream of sword intent pierced into Shi Shou's body. All of you scram immediately. I'll leave this stream of sword intent in your body. Don't let me discover any additional movement. Chapter 700. Shi Shou's countenance changed, and he frowned deeply as he sensed the six-sided sword physique in his mind. He silently threw a glance at Fang Xinjian and eventually turned to leave, not daring to show any signs of resistance. Fang Xinjian did not kill him either. He knew that if he were to kill him, the Gold Mage King would definitely not let him go. By then, it would probably not be as simple as just a clone. Since the gold-robed mages had already given way, Fang Xinjian was not interested in fighting to the death with them. Seeing Shi Shou leave, everyone present sighed. They then looked at Fang Xinjian, their minds seething as if huge waves were crashing to and fro. Even the gold-robed mages have been chased away just like that. This world is really going to change. Probably not long from now, Fang Xinjian will shake the entire empire. Audrey's gaze as she looked at Fang Xinjian was also filled with splendor, as well as a hint of inferiority. Even with her status as the top beauty in the northern ice region, she was still insignificant before Fang Xinjian's achievements. However, Fang Xinjian did not care about these. Through his sword intense and sudden inspiration, he sensed that there seemed to be problems in the Great Western region as well. Audrey, I'll leave the matters in the northern ice region to you. With that, he turned to look at everyone present, especially the northern ice region's governor and regional chief. He said coldly, "Go ahead and do it. I'll kill whoever doesn't cooperate." Everyone was agitated by his killing aura, and all of them quickly dropped to the ground and kowtowed, expressing their submission. Fang Xinjian nodded and soared into the sky abruptly. Accompanied by 4 streams of flowing light, he flew toward the Great Western region. Due to Fang Xinjian's great power, the entire Great Western region was extremely unified. All factions, aristocrats, and great clans were under the control of the governor. In addition to the gold that Fang Xinjian had brought back from Earth, the entire Great Western region was extremely wealthy. At every moment, a tremendous amount of resources would be gathered in the Great Western City. They were either used to forge divine weapons, provided for people's cultivation, or used for the construction of the people's livelihood. It could be said that the second prince or Fang Xinjian's influence in the Great Western region could be said to be overwhelming. Even if the imperial capital were to pass down an order, it would not be as effective as a single word from Fang Xinjian. The Great Western region could be said to be a country within a country. Due to the wealth that Fang Xinjian had brought with him, the current Great Western City was over 10 times more prosperous than it had been in the past. There were songs and dances everywhere, and it was a scene of prosperity. The market for various materials, ores, and ferocious beasts was extremely prosperous, almost becoming the largest material center in the empire. Such wealth and resources attracted the greed of countless forces. However, with Fang Xinjian's reputation, Prince Philip, the fourth prince, tyrant, who had engulfed the corpse of a divine-level expert, the governor, the regional chief, and many other experts, there were basically no forces from the few regions in the vicinity who dared to invade the Great Western region. Under such a situation, the fifth prince flew into the sky and looked down at the prosperous city. The corners of his lips curled up into a savage smile. The fifth emperor, who was next to him, sighed and said, "Are you really going to do this? Elder brother, why are you trying to persuade me?" The fifth prince laughed and said, "That Fang Xinjian has been suppressed by the gold-robed mages in the northern ice region and has not dared to come out for almost a month. He's become a real coward. I can take this opportunity to wipe out the influences he has left behind in the Great Western region and snatch away the wealth he has left behind here." Saying this, the fifth prince looked down at the Great Western region with a gaze filled with greed. The wealth that Fang Xinjian had left behind in the Great Western region was far too astonishing. Even the fifth prince's breathing quickened after doing some calculations. If he could raid the Great Western region like this, his future path of cultivation would be even smoother. The fifth emperor shook his head and said, "Aren't you afraid that he'll take revenge on you after he escapes?" "Take revenge on me?" The fifth prince smiled coldly and said, "Just sure show alone is enough to make him suffer. Moreover, the Gold Mage King is behind the gold-robed mages. He wants to deal with the 7 great clans in the northern ice region. Now that he's trapped by the gold-robed mages in the northern ice region, he's courting death. How is it possible for him to escape? Moreover, so what if he escapes?" As the fifth prince spoke, he clenched his fists tightly and said coldly, "Shang has already set his eyes on him. You should understand their strength, right?" Upon hearing the word Shang, a hint of terror appeared on the countenance of this existence, who was one of the 10 great experts in the empire. It's true that this Shang organization is unfathomable. However, if your majesty wishes to go up against the Mage Association with their assistance, you'll be inviting a wolf into your house, the fifth emperor said worriedly. In the future, you'll probably be playing with fire. So what if I'm playing with fire? Is there anything in this world that isn't risky? The fifth prince said calmly. Moreover, it's true that Shang has given me tangible benefits. As the fifth prince spoke, many silver threads darted out from his body. In the blink of an eye, they completely encompassed his body, forming a silver armor. He could feel the traces of electricity surging madly in his body. Then, the power from the depths of the earth, which was thousands of miles away, was transmitted to him through the air, endlessly strengthening his power. The corners of the fifth prince's lips curled up into a satisfied smile. Excellent. Shang really has a strong background. Although the nanotechnology armor they gave me isn't forged from divine-level remains and can't even be considered a divine weapon, it has the power of science and technology. Not only does it have a nuclear-powered engine, but it can also directly draw out the powers from the stars and the Earth's core. In terms of pure powers, I'm no longer weaker than a Tier 3 divine-level expert. Looking at the fifth prince who was encompassed by the silver armor, the fifth emperor shook his head. Relying on external objects isn't the right way after all. Haha, what are external objects? Weapons are external objects? Armors are external objects? All the cells in the human body have to be replaced every once in a while due to wear and tear. Then is food an external object? Is water an external object? Are the muscles, bones, and nerves that we grow from eating external objects? The fifth prince did not mind and said, "Elder brother, how can the difference between internal and external be so clear? If it can be used by me and increase my power, then I'll use it. What's the difference between internal and external?" As they spoke, the two of them increased their speed and arrived in the sky above the Great Western Region Regional Academy. However, the moment they appeared, they saw a figure soar into the sky. It was Tyrant, who had betrayed the gray-robed mages and then engulfed the physical body of a divine-level expert. Right now, the moment Tyrant appeared, waves of gray martial will encompass his body, taking the appearance of a huge beast. Many cities, countries, and countless human figures were depicted on the huge beast's body, farming, fighting, and shouting. His martial will had taken the form of a huge beast that carried the world on its back. However, it was still a little blurry and illusory. This was the appearance of the evil god that the gray-robed mages believed in. Clearly, not only had Tyrant attained a breakthrough to the divine level, but he had also condensed his martial will into the appearance of the gray evil god. Once he condensed this huge beast into a real and not illusory form, he would be able to strive for the second tier of the divine level. Tyrant soared into the sky. When he saw the silver-armored fifth prince and the fist emperor behind him, a hint of graveness flashed in his eyes. Chapter 701. What are you guys doing here? Leave immediately and I won't pursue this matter. Looking at Tyrant, the fifth prince let out a cold laugh and said, "Even Fang Xinjian's lackey wants to stop me?" Right now, he was wearing the nanotechnology armor and had the Fist Emperor assisting him in battle. He had no fear at all. As long as the opponent was not an expert at the Mage King level, he would be able to fight or retreat with ease. Then what if I'm included? As the fifth prince spoke, a glow that was like the sun soared into the sky. Encompassed by the white glow, a human figure floated in it. It was Prince Philip. The light all over his body seemed to have materialized, and he was encompassed by a light body that was like the sun. This was the conjured physique that he had condensed his martial will. This veteran expert, who had accumulated several decades of experience, had finally stepped into Tier 2 of the divine level a few months after the world's metamorphosis. Simultaneously, the fourth prince also leaped up. A myriad of sword shadows appeared behind the fourth prince, all of them condensed from layers of green light. Clearly, this genius from the royal family had finally stepped into the divine level after receiving the legacy from the Hades vault and having the world's metamorphosis as his background. He had been cultivating hard day and night. Tyrant, who was at Tier 1 of the divine level, Philip, who was at Tier 2 of the divine level, and the fourth prince, who was at Tier 1 of the divine level. 3 divine level experts stood in 3 different directions, surrounding the fifth prince and the Fist Emperor. The martial wills of the 3 experts stacked together, and terrifying powers seethed to and fro, creating circles of ripples in the space. Below the regional academy, countless top students, teachers, Zhou Xingwen, and the others looked at the 5 divine-level experts in the sky. In the direction of the great western city, countless experts also turned their gazes over. The prowess of the 5 divine-level experts was far too astonishing. How could the experts who were close by not be attracted by them? To think that there are 3 divine-level experts in the Great Western Region Regional Academy? How amazing! 3 divine-level experts. The people under Fang Xinjian are far too powerful. I wonder who those 2 people are. They're out of luck this time. Zhou Xingwen stood in the academy with Robert, Anthony, and the others standing behind him. Looking at the battlefield in the sky, Zhou Xingwen smiled and said, "They must not have expected that both the fourth prince and tyrant have stepped into the divine level, while Prince Philip has also reached Tier 2 of the divine level. With 3 divine level experts like them keeping watch, the Great Western region can be said to be as stable as Mount Tai." The gazes of the others also revealed a hint of confidence. This included Zhou Xingwen, Rhoda, and even Anthony, Robert, and a few other first transition knights. Right now, they had all stepped into the second transition. After all, with the world's metamorphosis, the density of ether particles had increased tremendously. Moreover, all of them had developed the 5th level of the mystical prince and had great aptitude. It would only be a matter of time before they stepped into the divine level. Right now, the strongest few people, such as Anderson, Rhoda, and Zhou Xingwen, had all reached second transition level 29 and were starting to strive for the demigod realm with 5 great perfections. With the addition of the 3 divine level experts in the sky, the influence that Fang Xinjian had left behind in the Great Western region had unknowingly swelled up. It had almost surpassed the divine-level influences like the Full Moon Shrine and the 8-directional Crimson Dragon. Therefore, each member's eyes were filled with confidence. If one were to include the 7 great clans Jacob, the Full Moon Shrine's Lan Yu, and the Myriad Stars Palace's astral ancestor. Other than Fang Xinjian, the influence on Fang Xinjian's side had 6 divine-level experts. They could be said to be a force that could influence the world's situation. Looking at the 3 divine-level experts before him, the 5th prince merely smiled coldly. How could 2 Tier 1 divine-level experts and a Tier 2 divine-level expert be worthy of his attention? A bunch of aboriginals. You guys know nothing about power. The 5th prince let out a cold laugh, and the nanotechnology armor on his body tightened abruptly. Waves of black martial will soared into the sky as he said, "Submit to me, and I can spare your lives." The 4th prince's eyes narrowed. He sensed a familiar aura from the other party's voice and martial will. He asked, "5th brother?" "That's right. 4th brother, you and 2nd brother have been eliminated a long time ago. Why don't you submit to me now? In the future, I'll definitely confer you the title of prince, and let you guard over a region for me." The 5th prince looked at everyone with an expression like that of a cat toying with a mouse. It was as if he was not in a hurry to make a move and wanted to slowly toy with them. Hearing the 5th prince's words, the 4th prince laughed and said, "5th brother, you've lost to Fang Xinjian several times in a row, yet you still dare to come over? You're wearing another divine armor. Why? Are you here to give us treasures again?" Hearing the 4th prince's words, the 5th prince's countenance changed, and he said coldly, "You don't know what's good for you. Do you think that Fang Xinjian will be able to come and save you? Right now, he's being surrounded by the gold-robed mages and can't even fend for himself. Moreover, the royal family has a brand new plan and reinforcements, yet father didn't look for you. You've been abandoned." The 4th prince's gaze narrowed. This was something that had been bothering him for the past month. According to the spies he had left behind in the imperial capital, many unfamiliar experts had suddenly appeared in the palace. There were even a few of them who were unfathomable and had caused spatial ripples. They were suspected to be divine-level experts. However, the royal family's power had increased tremendously. A few mage influences had invaded a few regions, yet none of them had come to find the Great Western region. Even the royal family had not contacted him at all, as if they had given up on him. This was also something that he had been feeling puzzled and uneasy about. At the same time, next to the 5 divine-level experts, a green-haired, green-eyed, green-robed lady was chuckling as she flew around. Next to her was a green-haired young lady who looked similar to her but was much younger. The young lady said, "Sister, are you sure that they'll be able to wipe out the 4th prince and the others?" "Who knows?" The slightly older green-haired lady looked at the battlefield with a smile. "But isn't it quite interesting if they fight?" The young lady said, puzzled. "It's because you want them to fight that you asked for the right to occupy the Great Western region from the association. Then why don't we occupy this place?" "We'll never fight," the green-haired lady said. "It's just that Fang Xinjian's growth has surpassed our expectations. It's time to weaken him a little." "Depend on them?" the slightly younger lady said with slight contempt as she threw a glance at the 5th prince. "Don't underestimate him," the older green-haired lady said. "He has the world's best fist arts talent. If it wasn't for Fang Xinjian, he would be the crux to activating the Ring of Time. He might even be able to unify the world in the future, fend off the onslaught, and create an age of prosperity. Right now, he, Tian-yi, and true Lord Qingshan have joined forces and become quite a strong influence. If they were to fight against Fang Xinjian, it would be beneficial to us no matter who wins. The two green-haired ladies were conversing at the side, but the 5 divine-level experts seemed to have not noticed them at all. They were unable to see or hear them, and there was no reaction even when the two ladies passed through their bodies. It was the green-robed mages, the Chaos Witches level 10 black magic, untouchable protection. As the only faction amongst the many mages who did not participate in any battles, they hid in the darkness, changing the entire world's history time and time again. This time around, they were the ones who had encouraged the 5th prince to come to the Great Western region. Chapter 702. The 5th prince looked at the 3 of them and said, "How is it? It's impossible for Fang Xinjian to be a match for the gold-robed king, and the 3 of you have been abandoned by the empire. If you join me, you'll only have a chance of survival in the upcoming calamity." Tyrant had long since grown tired of the 5th prince's arrogance. He clenched his fists lightly and said, If you want to subdue us, you'll have to win first. This time around, it'll be my turn to strip off your equipment." As he spoke, he struck out with his palm. The god-stunning palm, which was based on the principles of nuclear reactions, was instantly activated. A light pillar that seemed to penetrate through the world suddenly burst out. Not only did it encompass the 5th prince from head to toe, but it also encompassed the Fist Emperor behind him. Terrifyingly high temperatures, shock waves, radiations, and light waves spread out crazily. The cloud layers within a range of several hundred lis were all sent flying, and violent shock waves swept out. If it was not because of the protection from Prince Philip and the 4th prince, the entire academy would have been leveled to the ground. The spot that was struck head-on turned into a stretch of darkness. It was a violent power that had distorted light rays and space. The space suddenly became extremely scorching, and the temperature within a range of several tens of kilometers kept on rising. Such a violent attack could be ranked in the top 10 even amongst Tier 1 divine level expert. However, despite such a violent attack, the 5th prince and the Fist Emperor appeared unscathed after the smoke dispersed and the light pillar dissipated. Not only was the 5th prince completely encompassed by silver armor, but he was also emitting a shiny silver glow. The various heat energy, high radiations, and shock waves that had taken effect on him earlier had all been absorbed by the nanotechnology armor on his body. The Fist Emperor behind him was currently encompassed by a blue giant that was over 100 zhongs tall. Each of the pores and lines on the giant's body were extremely clear, and one could even sense the giant's heartbeat and breathing. It was as if the giant was a living creature. Clearly, this was the martial physique that the Fist Emperor had condensed. This veteran divine level expert had also stepped into the 2nd tier of the divine level. At the instant the 5th prince appeared, he appeared behind Tyrant with a flash and grabbed him by the neck. Black martial will gushed out wildly, encompassing Tyrant's body. "You even used such a childish attack. Who do you think you're fighting?" At the instant he made his move, both the 4th prince and Prince Philip moved simultaneously as well. The 4th prince's sword intent flashed, and the 7 sword techniques that represented the legacy of the Hades vault were performed simultaneously. Waves of power that trembled one's consciousness swept out, wanting to shake the 5th prince's martial will out from his armor. To begin with, the Mystic Abyss Heavenly Emperor's sword arts mainly focused on shaking up one's martial will. Now that the 4th prince had reached the divine level, the trembling force became even stronger. Wherever it passed by, it would cause a series of ripples in the space. On the other side, Prince Philip made his move at the same time, condensing the light all over his body into his palm. Piercing rays of light were emitted from the light, almost enough to blind a second transition knight. A stream of light sword burst out from Prince Philip's palm. The Universal Truth longsword was now performed by him, and its realm was different from before. Wherever the light sword passed by, there would be a stretch of vacuum, expelling all the air and physical particles. It pierced into the fifth prince's body at almost light speed, and the vacuum route also spread to the fifth prince's body. However, the power that could expel all physical matter did not succeed. Not only was the silver nanotechnology armor not torn apart by the repulsive force, but it also shone even brighter, absorbing the power of the white light sword. At the next moment, the fourth prince's trembling sword force also collided into the nanotechnology armor. The power that could shake up one's martial will was intercepted by the nanotechnology armor and then absorbed into it. Looking at the increasingly brighter armor, both the fourth prince and Prince Philip revealed expressions of disbelief in their eyes. However, the fifth prince did not care about their attacks at all. He grabbed Tyron's hand and swung it forcefully, tossing him up into the sky. Under the reinforcement of the astonishing power, Tyron instantly broke through 30 times that of supersonic speed, tearing through the atmosphere and flying out toward outer space. However, in the blink of an eye, the fifth prince had already caught up and smashed out another punch toward Tyron's chest. Tyron let out a furious bellow, and the beast shadow that was condensed from his martial will also let out a furious bellow. Tyron punched out, and his fist seemed to contain the weight of countless mountains, rivers, seas, and countries. However, faced with this punch that seemed to have the weight of the mortal world, the fifth prince merely smashed down violently. The two fists collided, and the space within a range of several hundred meters became distorted like a black hole. So what if it's the entire mortal world? Even if you throw the world over, I'll explode it for you to see. The two fists collided, and Tyron's entire body burst out with a rain of blood. He was unable to fend off the fifth prince's ferocious power at all, and he was almost smashed into a lump of rotten flesh, plunging rapidly toward the ground once again. Ha 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 ha! The fifth prince let out a maniacal laugh, and 12 holes suddenly opened up on the back of the nanotechnology armor. Flame currents that had a length of over 1 kilometer shot out from them, and the air before him seemed to have turned into something material. However, his body smashed through layers of the atmosphere that were like metal plates, bringing along stacks of air currents as he once again caught up to Tyron. Stop! However, the fourth prince and Philip had caught up once again. The fourth prince's vibrating sword force swept out while the light sword in Philip's hand brought along stacks of light lumps, blocking before Tyron. It's useless. The fifth prince punched out again, tearing apart the fourth prince's sword intent. Then he pressed down explosively across space with his palm, crushing the light lumps that Philip had used to protect Tyron. A world-shaking violence burst out from his body. Even if he did not perform any secret arts, the power of a Tier 3 divine-level expert was no longer something that Tyron and the other two could fend off. This was a difference in pure power. It was like the difference in physical strength between a first grader and a fifth grader. It was as hard to cross over as an abyss. Tyron was once again smashed into minced meat, but he gave up on squirming. Gray martial will darted out, taking on Tyron's appearance. Stop defending. Let's join forces and attack him. Crush that armor he's wearing. In that instant, the 3 divine-level experts made their moves concurrently. Terrifying beast roars rang out from Tyron's martial will. As he punched out, a feeling as if the entire world was pressing down on him extended out. It was as if the entire world's mountains and rivers were being held in his fist. This was the strongest punch that had integrated the teachings of the gray-robed mages, the image of the gray evil god, and Tyron's own martial arts experiences. It could be said to be a full-power attack from him. The fourth prince also made his move, and a Sunluo 6 Heavens sword condensed from his martial will appeared in his hand. There seemed to be an elderly man wearing a beaded curtain and a yellow robe appearing behind him. It was the phantom image of the mystic abyss heavenly emperor. As the fourth prince thrust out his sword, the sword's edge cut across space as if it was cutting across water, creating layers of ripples that circled around the fifth prince's body. Philip also unleashed his full power, and all of the white light turned into a light lump that was the size of a thumb. However, it emitted a glow that was comparable to that of the sun. It was as if the entire Great Western region had been illuminated by two suns. Within the light lump, not only were physical particles and light barriers expelled, but even radiation, heat energy, and even ether particles were also expelled. Tyron's fist, the fourth prince's ripples, and Philip's light lump simultaneously struck out toward the fifth prince. Ha 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 ha, useless, 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 useless. The fourth prince let out a cold laugh, and a myriad of fist shadows burst out from his body. Tyron's martial will was shattered, turning into many light lumps that squirmed about and attempted to reassemble with great difficulty. The Sunluo Six Heavens sword that the fourth prince had condensed shattered, and the hard work he had put into condensing his martial will during this period of time had completely failed. The light lump that Philip had unleashed at full power could repel ether particles. However, a silver sphere split out from the nanotechnology armor, wrapping up the entire light lump and pulling it into the fifth prince's chest. A lump of white light suddenly appeared on the fifth prince's chest, and his aura kept on rising, robbing Philip of his powers. With a single move, the three divine-level experts were all defeated. The fifth prince displayed overwhelming prowess, and the entire academy and the entire great western city were in a state of terror. Looking at the three people before him, the fifth prince smiled coldly and said, "Today, I'll let you guys know what it means to break through all techniques with a single power." Chapter 703. Regardless of whether it was Tyrant, Philip, or the fourth prince, all of them looked at the fifth prince in astonishment. The power that the fifth prince displayed had completely surpassed their expectations. The trio's information currents converged, and they started to discuss the current situation at high speed. Tyrant shouted, "How can there be such a thing? What's up with that armor of his? All of our attacks have been absorbed by him." Philip analyzed calmly, "This is a strange armor. Use your martial will to scan it. This armor is alive. It's formed from a metallic life form that is slightly larger than physical particles. Moreover, they are endlessly engulfing the powers of various radiation magnetic fields in the world, then changing, mending, and strengthening themselves." "That's not all," the fourth prince said in astonishment. The fourth prince said in astonishment, "After all of our attacks are transmitted to his body, they'll all be transformed into a high-temperature power by these little things at high speed. Then he'll absorb this high temperature and turn it into his own power." Countless exchanges were completed in that instant. In the blink of an eye, the three divine-level experts had already roughly analyzed the nanotechnology armor. Although they did not know the specific principles behind it, they understood that the fifth prince was able to convert the kinetic energy of attacks into heat energy and then absorb the heat energy to store it. Moreover, the upper limit of this absorption was very high, rendering most of their attacks useless. Just as the three of them were communicating, the fifth prince did not give them any extra time. A tail of flames that was several kilometers long shot out from his back, and he charged out with a world-shaking prowess that was like a myriad of thunderbolts exploding. With a punch, the power distorted the space, bringing up ripples, and even blocking out the sunlight in the sky. Break! Before the fifth prince could put up any defense, the protective white light instantly exploded. Then Philip's physical body was smashed by the punch, and a layer of milky white martial will slowly floated out from his corpse. The fourth prince let out an enraged bellow and unleashed the 6 heaven-soaring swords to its extreme. A gush of sword intent that seemed to have come from the depths of hell seethed in his mind. At this moment, the netherworld that the mystic abyss heavenly emperor had left behind in his mind was finally activated at full power. A myriad of sword intents seethed out from his body, and the awe-inspiring sword intense seemed to cause the temperature within a range of 100 lis to drop by several tens of degrees, causing everyone to feel a bone-piercing chill. The netherworld in the fourth prince's mind was the legacy of the mystic abyss heavenly emperor. With the fourth prince's consciousness as the foundation, it drew out the ether particles in void space and recreated a virtual human state. At this moment, the Jade Dynasty's 7 great sword techniques were unleashed completely. It was as if all of the virtual personalities had gathered together to perform the Jade Dynasty's 7 great sword technique. Simultaneously, Tyrant also unleashed his final powerful move. Gray flames burned all over his body, and his martial will kept on melting. Sacrificing a divine spirit, offering his martial will to the gray evil god on the spot in exchange for a tremendous diabolic energy. In that instant, a massive gray palm that was tens of thousands of miles long fell from the skies. This massive palm was completely formed from a rich heretical god force. One could see all sorts of mountains and rivers, animals, flowers, birds, and even countries fighting on its surface. This palm, which was condensed from diabolic energy, was like a real country. It landed down toward the fifth prince, and a seething power tore through void space, causing the sky above the entire great western city to be distorted into darkness. Faced with thousands upon thousands of sword intents from the Jade Dynasty's 7 great sword techniques, as well as the diabolic energy that Tyrant had exchanged for by sacrificing half of his martial will, at this moment, the fifth prince's countenance finally turned extremely grim. "Come at me!" A furious bellow tore through the atmosphere. "Today, I'll let you guys witness the true power of the nano armor." Behind the fifth prince, 12 spheres rose up one after another. Majestic and endless gravitational waves were emitted from within the 12 silver spheres. Loud rumbling sounds rang out in the ground, trembling and seething incessantly. It was as if there was a huge dragon seething underground. The 12 spheres crazily drew out the power from the planet's core under their feet, and violent heat, kinetic energy, and radiation kept on gushing out toward the fifth prince's body. The core deep underground was constantly burning and exploding, emitting a power that could change the entire land. Right now, the nano-armor was able to draw out a portion of the planet's core's power to augment the fifth prince. Simultaneously, the fifth prince clenched his fists tightly. Looking at the huge palm and sword intense descending from the skies, his battle-intense soared to an extreme, and the black martial will throughout his body condensed into a huge fist that encompassed him. Fists are authority. Clenching fists is wielding authority. Punching forcefully is authority. I want the entire world to grovel under my fist. Waves of will that seemed to engulf the world were emitted from the black martial will. Amidst crackling sounds, the fifth prince's martial will became even more condensed. It was as if he could condense his conjured physique at any moment and strive for Tier 2 of the divine level. All of the power gathered toward the fifth prince's fists. As a loud rumble rang out across 1,000 lis, his fists collided with the seething sword intense and huge palm. A loud boom reverberated in the sky, and layers of stacking ripples burst out from the point where the two of them collided. At the next moment, the fifth prince shot out a black line and flew out diagonally toward the ground. Then with a rumble, he collided into a stretch of mountain range, sending mountains flying and tearing the ground apart. He smashed out a valley that was several tens of kilometers long. In this short exchange, Philip's and Tyrant's physical bodies had been shattered, and their martial wills were extremely weak. Almost all of their powers had been depleted. However, looking at the fifth prince who had fallen into the ruins, the three of them finally let out a breath. At the next moment, they turned their wary gazes toward the Fist Emperor. Seeing the extremely wary gazes of the three of them, the Fist Emperor shrugged and said, "There's no need to look at me. Your battle isn't over yet." What? While the three of them were stunned, a silver fist had already torn apart Tyrant's martial will, turning him into light powder. Then with a dash, the Fist Emperor smashed Tyrant's martial will into dust. At the next moment, he punched out across space. Black will spread out at light speed, turning into black shock waves that pierced through half of the fifth prince's body, turning him into a pile of minced meat. Over half of the fourth prince's martial will was also shattered. In an instant, the three divine-level experts suffered serious injuries once again. The fifth prince, who had attacked, stood in midair, panting intensely. The entire right side of his chest, including his right arm, had disappeared. Right now, with the help of countless silver particles, they were regenerating at a speed that could be seen by the naked eye. Clearly, it had not been easy for him to receive the earlier attack. This was especially so when Tyrant had sacrificed half of his martial will to obtain diabolic energy. That terrifying power had almost caused him to explode. If it was not because he had the nanotechnology armor's ability to absorb attacks, Tyrant alone would have been able to deal him with serious injuries. However, looking at Philip and Tyrant, who were squirming slowly but were unable to regroup, then looking at the fourth prince whose countenance was pale and whose body was trembling while flying, the fifth prince finally revealed a victorious smile. Chapter 704. Not only that, but after withdrawing his left hand, which he had punched out earlier, the fifth prince recovered his breathing, and his aura once again rose steadily. With the assistance of the nanotechnology armor, his injuries were recovering at a rapid rate. Looking at the astonished, fearful, and nervous trio, the fifth prince said coldly, "To think that the three of you are able to injure me with your abilities at Tier 1 and 2 of the divine level. You guys should be proud." The fourth prince looked at the fifth prince in disbelief. He had not expected that this younger brother of his, whom he had always had the upper hand against, would actually be so strong. Or rather, it was not his strength. It was just that the armor he was wearing was so powerful. "What on earth are you wearing? This is definitely not a divine weapon." The fifth prince smiled. Since he was in the midst of recovering, he would be able to completely suppress the three of them after a short while. Therefore, he did not mind saying a few words at this moment. "This is called nanotechnology armor, country bumpkin." Looking at the fourth prince's dazed expression, the fifth prince's smile became even more complacent. "Idiot, this is the equipment that the ancient gods used to fend off external enemies during the first onslaught." "The first onslaught?" the fourth prince said in astonishment. "How is that possible? That's something that happened several tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years ago. What kind of equipment can be preserved for such a long time?" The fifth prince shook his head, his eyes filled with arrogance. "The civilization before the first onslaught isn't something a country bumpkin like you can imagine. At that time, TSK, why am I telling you so much? You won't understand even if I did." Simultaneously, countless experts in the academies and cities were astonished by the battle in the sky. If everyone had still been very confident at the beginning when the three divine-level experts had appeared one after another, then the current situation was extremely dangerous. Zhou Xingwen looked at the fifth prince in astonishment. "How is that possible? Who on earth is this person? To think that he single-handedly defeated Prince Philip, the fourth prince, and Tyrant? How could this be? Will he attack the academy?" Everyone in the entire Great Western Region Regional Academy was in a state of panic. The governor and the head of department exchanged a glance, their eyes filled with astonishment. Although they tried their best to calm the students and teachers in the academy, it was to no avail. A feeling of helplessness filled their bodies. Only deity-level experts can decide the direction of the continent's history. The Great Western Region's governor stared at that voice in the sky and sighed, this feeling of helplessness. "No matter what we do, the outcome is just a single thought from the other party." Head of Department James let out a sigh and looked at the figure in the sky. Despair appeared in his eyes. Could it be that the heavens want our Great Western Region dead? In the direction of the regional chief's residence in Great Western City, Regional Chief Benjamin and his assistant, Asto, looked coldly at the battle in the sky. Regional Chief Benjamin was a conferred knight who had been sent by the first prince to take over the Great Western region. Asto, the first prince's assistant on the surface, was actually an expert who was prepared to take over the Great Western Region Regional Academy. He was an expert who had once sparred with the School of Sword Art's supreme chief. It was a pity that although the two of them were top-notch conferred knights and demigod-level existences, they had been defeated by Fang Xinjian and then repeatedly humiliated by Tyrant. From then on, they were unable to control the Great Western region. Moreover, after Fang Xinjian crippled the first prince's cultivation, he was completely marginalized in the Great Western region. A single order from them might not even be able to leave the regional chief's residence. Although the two of them were dispirited, they did not really give up. They had been hiding in Great Western City and working hard on their cultivation, waiting for an opportunity. It was a pity that Fang Xinjian's forces grew increasingly stronger, pressuring them to the point where they could not even catch their breath. Right now, looking at the situation in the sky, both of them broke into cold smiles. "Haha," Regional Chief Benjamin said with great delight. Regional Chief Benjamin said with great delight, "I wonder which expert that Fang Xinjian has offended for someone to come knocking on his door. So what if there are 3 divine-level experts? They're still going to be killed one by one." Asto also wore an excited expression. Fang Xinjian has been causing trouble everywhere and has finally offended an enemy that he can't afford to offend. The reason why he hasn't come back to provide reinforcements yet is probably because he's afraid of this silver-armored man. I wonder who on earth this silver-armored man is? With such a world-shaking cultivation, he can probably be ranked in the top 3 among the 10 divine-level experts. "It doesn't matter who he is," Nehaman said with a cold smile. "It's fine as long as he kills or cripples all of Fang Xinjian's subordinates." Countless people in the Great Western City noticed the abnormality in the sky. However, only existences at the level of conferred knights and above could directly read light waves and sound waves in order to sense the specific situation. Despite this, the over 100 conferred knights were all dumbfounded at the sight of this scene. They were first astonished by the abilities of the 3 divine-level experts from the Great Western Region Regional Academy, and then they were astonished by the silver-armored man's ferocity in defeating the 3 divine-level experts single-handedly. A short moment later, the 5th prince finally recovered from his injuries. His black martial will turned into a tightly clenched fist and once again condensed outside his body. "All right, 4th brother, I'll cripple your cultivation and spare your life. As for the other 2, you can both die now." At the next moment, the 12 spheres behind the 5th prince were activated once again, and endless power accumulated toward his fist. The 4th prince and the other 2 looked at this scene in astonishment. "How is this possible? To think that he has completely recovered? At full power again?" With the assistance of the nanotechnology armor, the nuclear engine, which could supply an entire country's electricity, continued to provide the 5th prince with power. The 12 silver spheres also crazily drew out the power from the Earth's core to support the 5th prince. Not only had the 5th prince recovered from his injuries, but the punch he struck out was also no weaker than before. It was still a full-power attack, and it was enough to completely kill off the remnants of Philip's and Tyrann's martial wills. However, just as the 5th prince struck out with his punch, black light burst out like a black shock wave, wanting to engulf Philip's and Tyrann's squirming martial wills. A human figure suddenly appeared before the 2 of them. Then with a swing of his hand, he sent the 5th prince's full-power shock wave flying into the sky as if he was swatting away a baseball. Violent black currents broke through the atmospheric layer, like many raging dragons roaring in the atmosphere. They brought about a myriad of thunderbolts, spatial ripples, and countless changes in the weather. Looking at Fang Xinjian, the 5th prince's gaze was stunned. "Fang Xinjian? Looking at the man who had suddenly appeared before him, flames of fury flashed in the fifth prince's eyes. Then it was followed by endless vengeance, and exhilaration that filled up his chest. "Ha, you still dare to come back? Since that's the case, I'll kill you as well today." Chapter 705. The first half of the fifth prince's life could be said to have been bumpy. Due to his lack of aptitude and lack of interest in martial arts, he had always been the weakest among the 5 princes. However, all of this changed after he met the Chaos Witch. Under the Chaos Witch's guidance, not only did he obtain the world's best fist art talent, but he also had many fortuitous encounters. His cultivation kept on rising, and he obtained all sorts of wondrous martial arts. His progress was smooth, and he subdued countless experts, snatched countless manuals and resources. He even obtained the 4-eyed heavenly winged divine beast and a divine weapon from the divine Sun Emperor. In just a few years, he could be said to be riding the crest of success. He was only waiting to step into the divine level before surpassing the first prince, unifying the empire, inheriting the ancient path of hell, and even leading an army to unify the world, creating a prosperous dynasty that would last for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. However, all of this was instantly shattered when he met Fang Xinjian. Just as he suppressed the eastern sand region's Wang clan and wanted to snatch the mountainous Sea dynasty's manuals and Panwu heavenly raiment, he met Fang Xinjian, causing him to suffer his first failure in the past few years. He was like an eagle soaring high up in the sky, yet he was grabbed down violently by Fang Xinjian and then smashed into a swamp, suffering unprecedented humiliation. Thereafter, he even met Tian Yi. He cultivated a divine art and obtained the divine armor refined from the 4-eyed heavenly winged beast. He immediately went back to take revenge, but he was defeated by Fang Xinjian and even lost his physical body. After 2 consecutive failures, he put in great effort in his cultivation and endured hardship. With the help of the Fist Emperor and Tian Yi, he wanted to surpass Fang Xinjian. However, he then found out that Fang Xinjian had killed the undying Xia, crippled the first prince, and suppressed the full moon shrine and Xingwang mountain. This caused him to be disheartened, and he thought that he would never have another chance to take revenge. That was until he met Shang. It was only after meeting that true Lord Qingshan that I realized just how vast the world is and how there are endless experts. What does a small empire count for? Only the Mage Association and the Holy Sea of Truth are the true experts. Compared to the evil gods from beyond the heavens and the impact that is about to descend, they are nothing. There is always someone stronger out there, and my vision has already reached beyond the endless universe and space-time. Right now, the 5th prince was looking at Fang Xinjian. Although his gaze was still filled with killing intent, vengeance, and fury, it was not as persistent as before. Fang Xinjian was merely a setback in my life. How could he possibly understand my ambitions? Clearly, Shang had not really communicated with the 5th prince about Fang Xinjian's position. It was just that in the process of working together with the royal family, they had indeed given the 5th prince many benefits. Therefore, the 5th prince did not make his move immediately. Instead, he suppressed the killing intent, vengeance, and fury in his heart. He looked at Fang Xinjian with a gaze like that of a child teasing an ant, hooked his finger, and said, "Fang Xinjian, although I can't wait to kill you immediately, it's too boring to kill you directly. It's better that you make the first move. Otherwise, if I make my move directly, you probably won't have the chance to do so." Fang Xinjian's martial will scanned the 4th prince, Tyrant, and Philip. After ascertaining that their lives were not in danger, he said to them through information currents, "You guys can leave first. Help me protect the academy and the city below. Don't get implicated by the attacks." The 4th prince nodded and said with a grim countenance, "Xinjian, you must be careful. The armor that 5th brother is wearing is too strange. Not only can it absorb all sorts of attacks, but it also seems to be able to draw out the geomagnetic forces to strengthen itself. Tyrant also communicated with Fang Xinjian through information currents. The armor that he's wearing is very similar to the equipment created by Earth's technology. It's also called nanotechnology equipment. It also seems to be driven by nuclear electricity, but it's many times more brilliant. You must be careful. Tyrant had been to Earth with Fang Xinjian before. Therefore, he knew about the technological civilization over there. At the first moment he saw the nanotechnology equipment, he had thought that it was an equipment invented by the people on Earth. However, after the battle, he realized that the other party's technology far surpassed that of Earth's technology. Fang Xinjian nodded. As he threw a glance toward the fifth prince, his martial will, which could enter the finest detail down to the ether particles, also saw through the nanotechnology armor. It's really a product of technology? It's not even the structure of physical particles but something created from molecules and atoms? Fang Xinjian's brows twitched. Previously, when he had wreaked havoc in the Earth's alliance, he had seen almost all of the top-notch high-tech equipment on Earth. However, he had never seen nanotechnology armor before. How on earth did this thing come about? Behind him, the fourth prince slowly flew toward the ground. Philip and Tyrant had barely managed to form a state that was like plasticine. They kept on reassembling, but they were still unable to take human form. However, although their martial wills had been severely damaged, they had regained their ability to move. In the blink of an eye they landed on the ground. Simultaneously, the fifth prince's voice also rang out in Fang Xinjian's ears. Hearing the fifth prince's reply, the corners of Fang Xinjian's lips curled up slightly. He looked at his fist and said to the fifth prince, "You want me to make the first move? But if I were to punch you, you might die." Ha 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 ha. The fifth prince was extremely confident in the nanotechnology armor. Fang Xinjian, you have no idea what you're facing. Putting aside the nanotechnology armor that he was wearing, even his body was forged from a 10,000-year-old ice crystal that the Fist Emperor had personally gathered. It was almost comparable to a level 31 divine remains equipment. How could the fifth prince believe Fang Xinjian's words? Fang Xinjian smiled coldly and said, "You're the one who doesn't know what you're facing." As he spoke, Fang Xinjian's body seemed to tremble a little, and his entire palm was encompassed by a stretch of darkness. After reaching Tier 3 of the divine level, one's martial will and physical body would become one, and there would no longer be a difference between the physical body and the will. Right now, Fang Xinjian's body's toughness far surpassed an ordinary person's imagination. After his body trembled a little, he instantly shattered and then reassembled before the fifth prince at light speed. Then he punched out, and the light rays within a range of 1,000 meters became distorted, completely encompassed by darkness. Fang Xinjian could not see, hear, or sense anything. Even time and space seemed to have disappeared. Under Fang Xinjian's punch, the fifth prince felt as if he had returned to the moment when he was striving for the divine level and had stepped into the microscopic world. Space and time had lost all meaning, and his five senses had all left him. Space continued to distort under Fang Xinjian's violent attack. Even light waves, electromagnetic waves, and radiation turned into a mess. All of the observation means that a natural human possessed had lost their meaning. What could any defensive means do? At the next moment, when the darkness disappeared, the fifth prince felt as if his entire body had been struck by a magnitude 18 earthquake. Every single cell and physical particle in his body trembled crazily, as if they were going to break down and disintegrate in an instant. Chapter 706. The even more terrifying thing was that amidst crisp kacha-kacha sounds, the nanotechnology armor on the fifth prince's chest shattered. Then his body, which was forged from 10,000-year-old ice crystals, also let out banging explosive sounds, and a large hole was blasted open in his chest. However, the nanotechnology armor was indeed a powerful equipment. After the intelligent program detected that it was hard to fend off this attack, it quickly gave up on the chest area that had been punched. It cut off the connection, allowing the chest area to be punched into dust. Then the 12 gravitational pearls were activated to their limits, converting most of the power into heat energy and absorbing it. Despite this, over half of the nanomachines overloaded and crashed. Even the fifth prince's physical body suffered from serious injuries. Many flesh sprouts grew and regenerated crazily, and silver nanomachines kept on filling up the wounds. Although the fifth prince had suffered serious injuries from this punch, as long as he was given time, the nanotechnology armor would be able to continuously draw energy from the Earth's core and recover his injuries. However, even if he was not killed by this punch, the prowess of this punch was still a great blow to the fifth prince. It was not just the fifth prince. When the Fist Emperor saw Fang Xinjian's punch, his countenance also changed, distorting space, causing the sun and moon to lose their light and spacetime to be in a mess. The power and ingenuity of this punch can probably be comparable to that of a Tier 4 divine level expert. How can Fang Xinjian's martial arts be so terrifying? The Fist Emperor had also found out about Fang Xinjian's battle achievements. It was true that he was extremely powerful and world-shaking. However, his battle prowess was only at the second or third tier of the divine level. After coming into contact with Shang, he had thought that there would no longer be anyone in the world who could surprise him. This was until Fang Xinjian's punch appeared before him. On the ground, countless people were also astonished when they saw how Fang Xinjian had smashed the armor, which the 3 divine-level experts had only managed to slash off one of his arms even after going all out. Fang Xinjian. He has become even stronger. How long has it been? I couldn't see anything from that attack earlier. It's as if time and space have been mixed up together. Regardless of how astonished the people on the ground were, Fang Xinjian scanned the fifth prince's body and nanotechnology equipment with his martial will. He threw a surprised glance at the heavily injured fifth prince. With his current abilities, it was impossible for the Empire's royal family to give him any pressure. Moreover, the fifth prince had made trouble for him time and time again, even wanting to kill him. Therefore, he had really wanted to kill the fifth prince with his punch earlier. However, he had not expected that the fifth prince— no, it should be said that the nanotechnology armor was so miraculous that it had actually fended off his punch. This kind of technology seems to be the style of Earth, but it is far beyond the level of Earth. Fang Xinjian looked at the fifth prince's armor and said, "Where did you get that armor from?" The fifth prince did not reply. He was still in a state of astonishment from Fang Xinjian's punch and retreated a distance of 2 kilometers. All of his attention was focused on Fang Xinjian, just like a rabbit that had been targeted by a tiger. With a flash, the Fist Emperor also appeared next to the fifth prince. The silver nanotechnology armor also encompassed the surface of his body, and then a layer of crimson-red martial will encompassed his body, forming a monster with 6 arms and 3 faces. It was the Azura Path's conjured physique that he cultivated. Clearly, the Fist Emperor had already condensed his martial will into a conjured physique and stepped into the second tier of the divine level. This person's battle prowess is already comparable to that of a Tier 4 divine level expert. Stop fooling around. Wake Tian-yi up. Let's join forces and go all out to kill him. The fifth prince narrowed his eyes and agreed to the Fist Emperor through information currents. You're not going to say it? Then let me take off your armor. At the same time as he said this, Fang Xinjian had already moved behind the fifth prince at akin to light speed. He tapped out with a finger, and the all-conquering sword was activated. Throughout the entire process, the Fist Emperor seemed to be nothing. Under this sword attack, countless cracks instantly appeared on the nanotechnology armor. To begin with, Fang Xinjian's sword arts were far superior to his fist arts. Moreover, when dealing with an armor like the nanotechnology armor, slashing attacks were far more effective than blunt attack. However, right now, he was facing two people after all. At the same time that Fang Xinjian disappeared, the Fist Emperor also made his move. He tapped out with a finger as well, and it contained the same all-conquering sword intent as Fang Xinjian's. Fang Xinjian's brows twitched. Their sword fingers collided, and a crisp, crackling sound rang out. A myriad of streams of sword qis formed from air currents flashed in the surrounding air. Even the ground several kilometers away was slashed by invisible swords, and several tens of large trees were slashed into pieces. However, after the collision, Fang Xinjian remained unscathed, while one of the Fist Emperor's fingers was shattered. Even the nanotechnology armor covering the finger was sliced into silver powder that scattered into the air. However, the all-conquering sword intent that the Fist Emperor had displayed earlier had taken Fang Xinjian by surprise. He tapped out consecutively with his sword fingers, and each sword attack contained one of the infiltrating void, light pursuit, or all-conquering sword intents. There were myriad layers of sword shadows, untraceable or indestructible. However, all of them were countered by the Fist Emperor with the same sword intent. The Azura physique that the Fist Emperor had condensed from his red martial will had a total of 6 arms. The 4 arms on his back performed sword techniques consecutively, and all of them contained the 3 sword intents that Fang Xinjian had performed. Clearly, the Azura physique that the Fist Emperor had condensed from the Azura path was able to imitate his opponent's martial will. However, the Fist Emperor's cultivation was much weaker than Fang Xinjian's after all. As he counterattacked with the simulated sword intents, the Fist Emperor's body kept on being pierced through, exploded, and shattered. Even the nanotechnology armor was unable to fend them off at all. In the blink of an eye, he was beaten up into a bloody mess. After a few probing moves, Fang Xinjian understood the Fist Emperor's way of doing things. He said coldly, "Do you only know how to imitate?" Swoosh swoosh. With 2 sword slashes, the Fist Emperor seemed to have rained blood all over his body, and he was sent flying out like a broken doll. Just then, the 5th prince suddenly burst out with a bright light. "Tian-yi, come out right now. Didn't you say that you want to kill Fang Xinjian? You've slept for so long. Get up quickly. Fang Xinjian is right before you. What are you waiting for?" In the depths of the 5th prince's mind, a series of furious bellows shook up his consciousness, ceaselessly waking up Tian-yi, who was in deep sleep in his mind. Although Fang Xinjian's strength had surpassed his expectations, the 5th prince was only astonished and infuriated. He had never been truly afraid. It was not only because of the nanotechnology armor he had and the Fist Emperor next to him. It was also because of Tian-yi in his mind. The 5th prince and the Fist Emperor were not the only ones who had benefited from Shang. Moreover, even if Tian-yi was not a match for him, the 5th prince had the confidence that Fang Xinjian would not be able to kill him. Of course, he was not willing to use that trump card until the very end. As the 5th prince bellowed, a powerful and majestic power emitted from the depths of his mind. It then flowed to his limbs and bones, spreading out beyond his physical body. It was as if endless white flames had encompassed his body and then released endless light and heat. This gush of power was like a fixed star in the universe, incessantly burning itself and exploding with power. It constantly displayed its existence to the entire world, making the 5th prince feel that he had not awakened a person but a fixed star. Chapter 707. The prowess unleashed by Tian-yi caused the 5th prince to be secretly astonished. The 5th prince only knew that true Lord Qingshan had imparted a martial art to Tian-yi, and that Tian-yi had been in a deep slumber ever since. He had no idea what Tian-yi had learned. It was this eruption that caused Tian Yi's martial will to turn into layers of white flames that burned incessantly on the fifth prince's body. Even his entire head was encompassed by a layer of white flames, and his hair seemed to be burning as well. "Give me the power. I'll kill him." A message was sent over, and the fifth prince was stunned for a moment. He sensed that his powers were also being absorbed by the white flames. He gave it some thought but did not resist in the end. Let's see what level Tian Yi has reached and if he can kill Fang Xinjian. In that instant their powers merged into one, and the white flames seemed as if they had been doused with a bucket of oil. With a bang, the fifth prince's body started to burn up fiercely. His eyes also turned into a white light, and his body swelled up once again. Waves of violent power could be sensed seething to and fro within him. The Fist Emperor stared at Fang Xinjian, and the injuries all over his body slowly recovered. However, he discovered that Fang Xinjian was merely looking at the fifth prince with his arms crossed, not doing anything at all. What's going on? Is he just going to watch as Tian Yi awakens and not make the first move? However, the Fist Emperor had only intended to stop Fang Xinjian and help Tian Yi to truly awaken. Since Fang Xinjian did not make a move, the Fist Emperor would naturally not make the first move. Moreover, he had already been thrashed by Fang Xinjian in just a few moves earlier. He had a deep understanding of how powerful Fang Xinjian was and knew that he would not be a match for Fang Xinjian even if he had the nanotechnology armor. Within a short moment, the fifth prince's will had already hidden into the depths of his mind. All of his powers and physical body had been handed over to Tian Yi, and white light continued to gush out from his eyes. Tian Yi looked at Fang Xinjian, like a god looking at a mortal, and said, "You're not going to launch a sneak attack on me?" Right now, due to the influence of the stalwart Eidolon conviction, Tian Yi had once again completely forgotten about Fang Xinjian. He only remembered that he had to defeat Tian Yi. Otherwise, he would feel extremely upset. Fang Xinjian crossed his arms in front of his chest and slowly said, "It's more interesting to kill you when you go all out. Moreover, it made no difference to me whether the ant had wings or not. But what are you? Ether particles have been fake personalities for a long time?" Tian Yi shook his head. "Ignorant. If you had started running when I woke up, you might still have had a chance of surviving. But now..." Firefly explosion. With a swoosh, Tian Yi appeared behind Fang Xinjian. All the power in his body was gathered on his fist, flashing with a weak light like a firefly. However, it contained a terrifying penetrative force. Although Tian Yi did not have a cultivation realm and only cultivated the power of his martial will, the power of his martial will was already comparable to that of a Tier 2 divine level expert. In addition to the fifth prince's Tier 1 divine level power, the nanotechnology armor's Tier 3 divine level power, and all these powers were now gathered on a spot the size of a firefly. How terrifying would its prowess be? Tian Yi's fist smashed onto Fang Xinjian's sword finger, and a loud "Kacha" sound rang out. It was as if a huge building had collapsed, and a crack had appeared on Fang Xinjian's index finger. Tian Yi also let out a stifled snort and retreated 10 meters. A bloody hole had been slashed out on his fist by Fang Xinjian's sword intent. This was the first time that Fang Xinjian had been injured in the battle. Although it was just a crack that could recover in an instant, it still caused him to reveal a hint of surprise in his eyes. The nanotechnology armor, Tian Yi, and the earlier firefly explosion. The things that surprised Fang Xinjian today kept on happening one after another. At the same time that he tapped out toward Tian Yi, Fang Xinjian kicked backward, lashing out at the space with violent powers. Layers of ripples were released like shock waves, sending the Fist Emperor, who had launched a sneak attack, flying out. Layers of stacking blood mist exploded out from the Fist Emperor's body, and there was even a large hole in his stomach. If it was not because of the nanotechnology armor's protection, he would have died from that earlier kick. However, not long after he was seriously injured, Tian-Yi appeared before him and grabbed out toward the Fist Emperor. Electric light grab. Perhaps it was Tian-Yi's habit, but each time he performed an attack, his martial will would contain the name of the move. In this claw attack, Fang Xinjian's martial will seemed to have formed layers and layers of stacking electricity. This was an extremely fast claw that was like a bolt of lightning. It tore open the wound on the Fist Emperor's stomach, causing him to cry out agonizingly and retreat rapidly. Tian-Yi, are you crazy? Tian-Yi threw a cold glance at the Fist Emperor and said, I'm the only one who needs to kill him. I'll kill whoever dares to help me. The Fist Emperor's face flushed red, but he did not flare up when Tian-Yi's gaze, which was filled with white light, swept past him. Right now, Tian-Yi had the powers of himself, the Fifth Prince, and the nanotechnology equipment. He also grasped the unknown martial arts that he had learned from true Lord Qingshan. This allowed his abilities to far surpass that of the Fist Emperor. Tian-Yi turned his head, looked at Fang Xinjian and said, All right, there's no one else in the way. You can go all out as well. Don't disappoint me. I've been unrivaled for far, far too long. It's too lonely. The existence of the stalwart Eidolon conviction clearly allowed Tian-Yi to have the perception and determination that he was the best in the world no matter what kind of situation he was faced with. Hearing Tian-Yi's words, Fang Xinjian's countenance turned a little solemn. For Tian-Yi to be able to say such words, he must have something to rely on. As Tian-Yi let out a sigh, he dashed out once again. The white flames burning all over his body seemed as if they had come to life, complementing his body and sending out attacks one after another at light speed toward Fang Xinjian's body. Ghostly axe slash. As Tian-Yi slashed down, it was as if a ghost had descended into the world. Electric light grasp. A claw tore through the sky like a bolt of lightning. Meteor strike. A finger tapped out, and it was as if a meteor had pierced through the sun. Firefly boom. A punch boomed out, bringing along a power that could destroy cities and countries. A myriad of finger shadows, fist winds, and claw marks encompassed toward Fang Xinjian. Each move was extremely exquisite, like the extremities of fist arts, claw arts, and finger art. It completely unleashed the extreme powers of a Tier 3 divine-level expert. Fang Xinjian did not show any signs of weakness and went up against Tian-Yi. His sword fingers brought along a myriad of sword shadows that pressed down toward Tian-Yi. The sword of infiltrating void, the sword of light pursuit, the sword of all-conquering, and the sword of instant brought along a myriad of sword shadows that exploded on Tian-Yi's body. A fist that was like a firefly's light struck Fang Xinjian's shoulder, and the sword of infiltrating void exploded in Tian-Yi's body. The meteor-like finger force exploded on Fang Xinjian's head, and the sword of light pursuit's sword intent encompassed Tian-Yi's entire body. Claw shadows and hand blades kept on tearing at Fang Xinjian's limbs, chest, and abdomen, and streams of bloody wounds appeared on Tian-Yi's body. The battle between the two of them was one in which there was no defense at all. Both of them were crazily attacking each other's body. In less than a second, violent powers distorted the space, and the area within a range of 1,000 meters was encompassed by darkness. It was as if the entire world had turned into a state of chaos. Both Fang Xinjian and Tian-Yi could no longer see, hear, or sense anything. Everyone looked at the battlefield in the sky in great astonishment, watching as the darkness continued to extend out. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Everyone in the academy looked at the strange phenomenon in the sky worriedly, worried about Fang Xinjian's life and death. However, amidst the darkness, Tian-Yi laughed maniacally and said, "Excellent, excellent, excellent. I've underestimated you. You're really a good opponent. This is your full power?" Fang Xinjian's will transmitted over. "You've been unrivaled for too long? I've overestimated you. You're just trash." Chapter 708. Looking at the stretch of chaos in the sky, the fourth prince's expression was extremely grim. What terrifying powers! To think that the two of them are able to create such a vast chaotic domain just by relying on the impact of their pure strength. Philip also wore an astonished expression. If powers of such a level were to be unleashed without any restraints, there probably wouldn't be many people in the entire Great Western region who would be able to survive. What on earth is going on with that fifth prince? Tyron said coldly. He's ridiculously strong. The fact that the chaos has lasted for such a long time means that the two of them are still in a stalemate. Both of them have already reached the battle prowess of Tier 3 of the divine level. Hearing the words of the three divine level experts, Zhou Xingwen and the others became even more worried. Wang Xiaoyan, Fang Qian, Rhoda, and the others had also rushed over. Hearing that the person who had come was the fifth prince, and that he had reached the battle prowess of Tier 3 of the divine level, the three of them revealed nervous expressions as they stared at the dark clouds in the sky. No one knew if Fang Xinjian would be able to emerge victorious in this battle. A hint of wariness flashed in the Fist Emperor's eyes. This Tian Yi's powers, martial arts, and origins are all too mysterious. But it's also because of this that he's Fang Xinjian's match. Amidst the stretch of darkness and chaos, 4 streams of sword light soared into the sky. The Celestial Eradication Sword Formation was activated. As the Celestial Eradication Sword Formation was activated, Tian Yi's powers were suppressed, smoothed out, and scattered. The darkness and chaos started to disappear. It was as if the Celestial Eradication Sword Formation had reset the earth, water, wind, and fire at the beginning of the world, allowing everything to return to normal. Seeing the scene of the sword formation smoothing out the space, everyone in the academy was astonished. Tian Yi sensed the omnipresent sword chi sweeping down, scattering his martial will, smoothing out the distorted space, and watching as the surrounding chaos dissipated. He smiled and said, "What is this? A formation? This is your trump card?" Trash. Fang Xinjian threw an indifferent glance toward Tian Yi. At the next moment, sword qis swept out, and clanging sounds rang out. Blood splattered everywhere, and silver light exploded. Fang Xinjian had almost slashed Tian Yi into minced meat. If it could be said that when Fang Xinjian performed his heaven-connecting sword physique, Tian Yi would still be able to put up some resistance with the help of the nanotechnology armor. However, when Fang Xinjian truly activated the power of the Celestial Eradication Sword Formation, he instantly gained an absolute advantage. Almost at the instant it erupted, Tian Yi sensed an intense threat. At the same time his physical body was shattered, he disappeared, turning into a stream of white light and appearing 1,000 meters away. He then reassembled his physical body. He had actually used the power of Fang Xinjian's Celestial Eradication Sword Formation to evade the attack by moving at the speed of light. However, the fact that Tian Yi had been forced to retreat with serious injuries from a single sword attack still caused many conferred knights to be secretly astonished. Could it be that Fang Xinjian hasn't used his full strength all this while? What kind of power is this? Is it a spell formation? I feel that all the ether particles within a range of several kilometers are seething. It's too terrifying. Simultaneously, at the instant Tian Yi revealed himself, he opened up his hands, with one hand facing up and the other facing down. His white martial will started burning up fiercely, and each gush of martial will unleashed an explosive reaction that was like nuclear fusion. It made him seem as if he was burning up fiercely like the sun. Fang Xinjian, don't be too complacent. Earlier on, I've only displayed 30% of my powers. Now, I'll let you see my true powers. 9 Heavens Thunder Domination. Hades Space Domination. At the next moment, a white light sphere flashed on Tian Yi's palm, which was facing up toward the sky. The sky within a range of 100 lis suddenly turned dark, as if all the light had gathered onto Tian Yi's palm. It was not just light. Even the temperature of the entire Great Western City started to drop, and hints of electricity also appeared in the light sphere on Tianyi's palm. A pitch-black light sphere condensed under his other palm, which was facing down toward the ground. The ground started to seethe and crack, and countless plants started to wither. The ground within a range of several tens of lis started to tremble. The powers of the entire sky and the earth seemed to be gathering toward Tianyi's hands. Zhou Xingwen said in astonishment, "One of his hands is gathering the power of solar radiation and atmospheric electromagnetism. The other hand is gathering the power of the Earth's magnetism." The fourth prince stared at the figure in the sky and said, "And this speed of gathering is too fast." The conferred knights on the ground fell silent. Everyone was stunned by the battlefield before them. Under the celestial eradication sword formation, all the physical particles and ether particles within a range of 100,000 meters seemed to be seething. Under Tianyi's Hades space domination and Nine Heavens thunder domination, the powers of the sky and the earth continued to gather. What on earth is this move? I feel that if he were to continue performing it like this, the entire Great Western region will experience a great earthquake. It's too astonishing. Their battle prowess is too astonishing. What tier of the divine level is their battle prowess at? Fang Qian, Rhoda, and the others looked at Fang Xinjian with even more worried gazes. The battle prowess that the fifth prince was displaying had surpassed everyone's expectations. It was a power that they had never seen before. The Fist Emperor retreated far away once again, leaving the battlefield. He looked at the martial arts that Tian-Yi performed with a solemn expression. "I've never heard of such a fist technique in history. Is this the fist technique that true Lord Qinshan imparted to me?" Right now, the entire Great Western City and the Great Western region's future rested on Fang Xinjian alone. In the distance, Regional Chief Benjamin and his assistant, Asto, wore bitter expressions. Fang Xinjian has already become so powerful? Even if the first prince were to start all over again, he probably wouldn't have the chance to surpass him. However, Fang Xinjian allowed Tian-Yi to finish accumulating power for his move. He nodded and said, "Not bad. This is still worth watching. It's worth receiving a sword attack from me." As he spoke, he waved one of his hands, and a sword shadow that was filled with lightning appeared in void space. It was a divine remains equipment that had been forged from a divine-level spinal bone and had inherited Fang Xinjian's all-conquering sword intent. It was a level 31 divine-level longsword, Thunder Calamity. Seeing the appearance of the Thunder Calamity, Tian-Yi's brows twitched. He felt a strong sense of threat. Then I'll break this sword of yours first." As he spoke, he dashed out, and two lumps of light, one black and one white, that gathered the powers of the sky and the earth, smashed out fiercely toward Fang Xinjian along with his palms. Moving at close to light speed, the magnetic fields of the sky and the earth changed rapidly under Tian-Yi's control. At this moment, everyone felt as if they had lost their control over the heavenly thunders and terrestrial magnetism forces, and their physical bodies even felt as if they were going to collapse. Wherever the black and white lumps of light passed by, they left behind a series of colorful spatial distortions, displaying the powerful powers they contained. With this attack from Tian-Yi, the entire sky turned dark, and the earth started to tear apart amidst tremendous rumbles. It was as if the powers of the sky and the earth had all been stripped away. All the conferred knights who were watching the battle were left speechless as they looked at this attack in the sky in great astonishment. It was as if they were looking at a miracle. Faced with the Hades spatial dominance and Hades thunderbolt dominance, who had appeared with a flash and were attacking him with both palms, Fang Xinjian's gaze was calm. Holding on to the Thunder Calamity, he slashed out with his sword. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.